Hello, and welcome to our show, Midwest Weekly, starring myself, Wick, and my co host, COT. We are here to give you a breakdown of Week's 4 action across the Midwest Sweat League. I also would like to introduce a very special guest today from the Midwest server, a man who has been a part of this from nearly the beginning. Some of you know him as a mod, some know him as the organizer, some know him as that top laner from Ghost. But I know him as my friend, the one and only Havoc. You
Hey
guys,
guys, nice to be here.
yes, would you like to give any little info about yourself before we really get started?
I think you covered most of it. I've been a part of this league for several years now. Um, as a mod for some of it, been an admin for about a year now or something like that. Um, just been helping out, trying to make it grow. I've been a player in it the whole time as well. And yeah, pretty much it.
Yeah. You forgot one part. He's a washed up has been player too. Really, really bad. Just complete trash.
True.
Yeah. No, he's fantastic. And we'll certainly get to your guys' series in a bit here, but we're going to go ahead and go in order. So we're going to have a long way to get until we get to talk about uh, your good games over the weekend. So, CLT, would you like to lead us off here with the first series? That's going to be Free Brax versus Scorch from Group A.
Yeah, yeah. This series had a lot of implications. Kind of looking ahead into some of the playoff seedings and stuff between these two, and this series did not disappoint, in my opinion. So, game one here, there was a lot of like drafting, like kind of strategic drafting around this. We know Freebrax plays like a lot of Camille and a lot of bot lane, like enchanter lanes. So they left a lot of that up, banned the Victor, mostly targeted the jungles. But when Scorch came through with the draft, we seen kind of getting ahead the R4 Asol, which everybody, including myself, thought it was going to go mid. So Freebrax tried to punish it slash master it with scaling with Syndra. And then Scorch just decided, hey, Boonstra, you play just about everything in the game. You're gonna take this Ace bot with Nami. And Tom, sorry, ended up picking this Zed, which had a really, really solid game once he got ahead. The laning phase was roughly about even into this Syndra, but once Rusty ganked a few times and this Zed got a couple of kills, it just snowballed. The Syndra could not match it in the side lane and could really do nothing. And then once Hurt started to break down, Boonstra did really well scaling into the mid game. Once he got to 3 items, Acel just becomes a monster. And it just went all uphill from for the free Brax from there. The big breaking point was this Ocean Soul because their team uses Ocean Soul so well, and then Freebrax's damage dealers were so far behind that they just couldn't punch through the ocean.
Yeah. It was. I remember catching more towards the end of the series and rewatching some of this game one because I was interested about number one seeing Zed. I love Zed, so like seeing that, and then two, very intrigued by this ASOL bot. So how would I start here then with this question for you, Havoc? What do you think about ASOL as a champion, and what do you think about it bot lane here?
I think as a champion, um, he's kind of fallen out of the sights of being OP. I mean, for a while he was a pretty insane character, who if you could just get him through out of the early game, he just started taking over, just wiping teams. Um, I still think that he can do that, but I think that he's been tuned back enough that it's not as big of a problem. I think having a bot lane is kind of suboptimal, just because it does prevent his big spikes on his ultimate because obviously you're going to be delayed levels since you are duo laning. Um, and I think that that's what can turn the tide most is his ultimates. Um, I do know Boonstra. He, like CLT mentioned, plays a lot of different stuff, a lot of different mages, especially, and pilots them very well. So I'm not really surprised to see him pull something out like the Aurelion Soul, but I don't think that it's a pick that other people should be looking to copy necessarily.
Yeah, I definitely think it's one of those wild things. Some of these majors we've seen bot lane have been certainly interesting. Um, Victor's getting some play now in the bot lane. I just think that has to do with the champion just being just so busted. But it's kind of getting cringe to a degree too. Like it's just like when will these things go away and just let AD shine again? And I know ADs aren't in the best spot right now, but at the same point, man, it's just like, ugh. It's not as fun to watch for me. I feel like I don't know what your guys' take on that is, but I find a lot of these control-y type mages like okay, whatever. They do kind of all the similar thing. But I do like the adaptation that they made regardless because you want to run an AD mid. Zed certainly is pretty good into the Syndra, so I think it has value there. And then so you kind of just flip draft on its head, and I'm certain Freebrax had no idea what was happening when that came out. Was Zed R5 by the way?
Yeah, Zed was R5.
Okay, yeah, they were probably super confused. They probably thought it was Poppy. No, not they couldn't even think that. I was gonna say maybe Poppy support, but no. They were just like, "Where's this asshole going?"
Yeah. I think to like Havoc's point in the discussion is like all of these mages that go bot, they all have something very much in common, and it's their access to wave clear early. If you look at Victor, Asol, I've seen Tway bot actually have like an impressive win rate even in higher elos. All three of these champions, and there's a few others you could loop into here, they all can get early access to like safe free wave clear with either like faded ashes or just kit upgrades in general. So that's why I thought like Ari was really strong last split, and she can kind of do the same thing into those matchups as well mid, where she just 2Qs the wave and all of a sudden it's gone. She can play weak side and just freely scale. There's nothing you can do to really stop her.
That's a very good breakdown of mages there. What would you say was like? Was there like a breaking point in this game for you, or something that stood out? I see like I'm just kind of shifting through, and I noticed like at 24 minutes there was already a 10K gold lead, which is massive.
Hmm.
But was there something that happened maybe before that really broke this game open?
Um, there was up in like the 17-minute area, 17 and a half. There was a really solid like river fight where Acel got a big old off. It only hit one person, but it still kind of started to slow everything down. Um, where he kind of afterwards got caught out, but I think they overchased a little bit. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong fight here. Um, but they lost. There it is. Yeah, they lost the dragon fight after that fight there, and they started the dragon stacking, and Tim got a couple kills there, and after he did that, Syndra just got behind in levels, and everything started to get one-shotted. So
Yeah, I see Tom was over here just trying to style around, but then he did almost no damage to Syndrome, which is kind of funny actually, while he was trying
yeah,
to style. But I mean, I guess it worked out.
I think the biggest thing was like once Acel got to two items and they were threatening like the dragon stacking, they couldn't punch through the front line to get to this Acel. And Tim's in the side lane just being able to murder whoever he wants. Camille tried to match him and could kind of stand her ground, but for the most part, like Zed was unstoppable by just one person. So
Yeah. Well, that's Zed for you, man. If he gets ahead, he's good in side lanes, so I'm not too surprised there. With that being said, we can go ahead and move on to the next game. If you want to break down game two here.
yeah, let me just pull up the draft best. Yeah, so this game two, it was interesting in the sense of like we've seen a kind of a standard 1-2-3 from Free Brax. It was champions that you've seen around in the league quite a bit. Camille, Warwick, Rel, and Scorch responded pretty well. Renekton, Nami, but then Malzahar came out as an R3, and I think it was kind of predictable that this Malzahar could go bot lane because the only reason you show Malzahar that early in the draft is you're cooking something. And I think I even called this in the cast. So Freebrax ended up, sorry, Scorch ended up then R4ing Mundo, and Freebrax had a really solid answer in the form of Vayne bot and then Rise mid. There's two champions that don't mind scaling. Vayne, I actually thought Vayne was going to not enjoy the Malzahar lane, but I was very much wrong in that regard. They did a really good job last hitting under turret, and then once she got enough attack speed, the Malzahar minions, she just farmed them before they could totally push the wave in. And then Rise, I mean, I actually think Rise is in a really good spot right now, and Big B played this Rise really well. So they just matched scaling for scaling, and then everything just got a little too tanky for this Annie to one shot.
Yeah, why in the world would you pick Annie here? I still can't figure that part out. I don't know if either of you guys
I
got a take on this, but I'm generally curious about this Annie pick.
I don't I don't know either. I thought there was a couple of other things that could have slotted in here. I mean, I could have argued you just keep the Malzahar mid and play something like standard bot to punish this Vayne more. But it could have been just something that Tim thought was in a really good spot here. Or I'm not 100% sure on Scorch's draft here. Um,
What do you think
and
of
then
this draft here, Havoc? Like, I personally I don't really like the draft almost anywhere except for maybe just Nami and Renekton. I guess Miles if he's mid maybe, but I just feel like this draft is overcooking a bit.
I definitely think it's overcooking. I think that they do kind of need a go button because they have like Renekton, Malzahar, and Mundo who can't really engage fights very well. So, and I don't think that you can really rely on Nami to be your primary engage either. So they kind of needed to engage somewhere, and any sort of fulfills that role. Um, and I'm not sure if it's a comfort champion for Tom, but if so, then I suppose it kind of makes sense. If they need a engage and it's a champion that he feels comfortable with, then sure. But I think that they kind of put themselves in a weird position with the Malzahar pick that early. Um, and I think it led to it being an overcook.
Yeah. On the other
they got
side, how hyphy is this Warwick pick, man?
he's been popping. This pick has been popping off.
I think Warwick has been in a really, really strong spot for a couple patches now. Um, there's not really any end in sight, and I think people are definitely should be playing him. I don't remember if he got nerfed again more recently, but the nerfs that he was getting were not enough. So definitely a really strong pick.
Yeah, I love it. I always my team always goes oh my god, it's Warwick GG. And they're
Oh,
saying that I'm gonna run it down or something. It's like, dude, I'm for one, I'm good on Warwick, but for two, the champion's good. There's nobody understands the value of the pick, man. I swear. Maybe it's not the best competitive pick. This might actually be true. I could see that, but I don't think it's in the right spot. I think it's good, you know. So
Hmm.
and I don't really think like Warwick cares about Mundo in this game, you know. So
no,
uh,
I agree, especially post Bork. Like I don't Warwick doesn't never really gets blown up, especially if he sees the engage coming. But I kind of want to play devil's advocate to Havoc's point of like it's not that I don't disagree with the Annie. It's I think there's better things in there because you're not are you really looking for a go button when you have Warwick, Camille, Rel just all running at you?
I think that the idea is that with how the draft plays out, they can't really team fight very well, and they have to go for blowing somebody up. if they can take somebody out of the fight, then it's playable. But if they play a standard 5v5 front to back, they're going to lose 100 out of 100 times. They just do not have the capability to deal with Freebrax's team in a standard 5v5, I think, unless that they're really ahead. So that with the picks that they have, they kind of have to play for that quick engage, one shot somebody, and either play out or play with the advantage.
Yeah, I kind of see where you're going. It's like a pick comp almost, to be honest. Pick comp, and then Nami is your disengage after you get your pick. Um, because if you really look at the comp overall, like you said, you can't 5v5. You can't, and that's front to back or back to front, if that makes sense, right? You can't kite back and you can't go forward with the comp. But you also can't side lane with the comp. Like Renekton, I'm pretty sure gets outscaled by Camille, correct?
Yes, it takes a while, but he will.
Yeah, so he'll get outscaled. And then Rise into Annie, I mean, like, it's Rise. Like, he's going to be a menace. So, sure, I guess Annie can, bush cheese him or something, maybe kill him. But he's probably going to have his shields. He's going to have his Seraphs and all that. And Rod of Ages, so he'll be a little tanky. So they really don't have a lot of options. I feel like this comp had to like, pop off here at, like, the 15 to 20 minute mark and then just end the game before, like, 30. It just kind of feels what this comp
I
is.
think I think probably like the only issue I have like two small glaring issues is like if you're going to pick this comp, seeing that everybody's like diving into you, I would have been curious to see more of like a bruiser like dot Annie build with like Leandries, Rylai's, like make it much harder to get to your backline. But also like if you're committing to this draft, do you go that direction? Because he built nothing but like pen and one-shot items, and once Rise gets a little MR, I mean Vayne builds Jack Show Wits End, you're just not blowing anybody up. So you got to pivot the build there, but also just double AP as your damage dealers, I think is probably the bigger, more egregious move. Like you need some type of AD zone control, and there's not very many options there. 'Cause you're gonna get out MR'd.
Yeah. Very low kill game too. I would like to point out.
Hmm.
Very slow pace, which is
Yes.
something nice to see from teams that um, where they know that their comp doesn't have to do anything special to win the game. Which I'm referring to Freebex's comp because they got the scaling advantage. And so I'm kind of watching back a bit, and I'm like, dang, it's only eight kills to two at 21 minutes. Like, what is this, an LCK game?
Yeah. I mean, Scorch had a couple of really solid mid-game team fights where they went even to winning, but once Rise built MR, uh, Warwick got Spirit Visage, Vayne completed Wits End. There was just nothing their comp could do.
Yeah,
Like you just got out tanked at that point.
happens to the best of us. This was
Yeah.
this was both Rise and Vayne's first pick, right? In the season.
I believe so.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, yeah, and Annie, I
And
think.
Annie, that's crazy. Three new champions in one game. Uh,
There was three. No, no, there was not. It was Acel's first game in game one. That was the only one.
the series had a bunch of bangers there.
Yep, yep.
Well, we can go ahead and move on to game three then, which is gonna end with Free Brax end up picking up the victory and winning the series. So how did they come to do that, CLT?
Um, well, if they were happy with a bunch of go buttons and engage in game two, they just doubled down on it in game three. By switching out the Rise basically for Galio. Scorch, I I thought they drafted a little bit better here, especially showing the Varus. Like now you have something that can at least attempt to punch through tanks. And Oriana, I mean, everybody's seen Tim on Oriana. Like he's a really, really talented player overall, but his Oriana's like stupid scary. But I thought this was like a slightly more egregious like draft diff when this Yone came out here. First of all, I have like nothing but respect for Ares. He's absolutely insane. Haven't played against him earlier in the split, but I this Yone pick this just what there's so much mobility in Freebrax's comp, and if they're not mobile, a la like Galio, they're just tanky enough that they can push back Yone. So I thought this was kind of interesting, and it kind of played out as the game went on. You seen opportunities where Yone tried to ult the back line and just gets CC'd and blown up before he could E back. And Tim really like put his mark on this game. He had a really high kill game and had a lot of epic Orianna shockwaves. But again, Freebrax, if they missed one engage, there was two more engages coming at them in the form of like, Rel Galio, Warwick Galio. It just didn't matter. Whoever hit the go button, Galio was right there, and they couldn't punch through those kind of stats.
Yeah, too bad the top laners didn't get to run it back for a third time, man. I was hoping for another Renekton Camille game.
Yeah.
But Honky got Camille 3 times in a row. It's kind of crazy. I know you like some Camille Havoc. What do you think about Camille and Dione?
I think that it is more of a skill matchup. I think it's Yone favored though, with all the different changes that have happened to Camille and Yone. But really, what it comes down to is whoever gets that lead first can really just take it and run with it. Um, if they kind of go even, then Yone can bully a little bit, and he can outscale. But Camille is just one of those champions where if she does get that lead early, where she's not at her strongest, she can just run away with the game and just completely roll over anybody.
Yeah, and unlike game two into the Renekton, Hunky went a lot more aggressive, bringing the no flash TP ignite setup.
Hmm.
So I think that probably helps with the snowballing even more on Camille's side. Plus, I think if Yone ever like makes the first move onto Camille, there's Warwick Blood sent to speed him up there, or Galio ults to come in. I think actually Ares had that at one point where he like all in and Camille presses R and then Galio comes in. So
Yeah, Camille Galio is pretty nasty together, similar to J4 plus Galio does a
yeah.
similar thing. Um, but even with that being said, um, if I'm again looking at it, I'm not really that mad about the Yone pick because the one thing is he does build Bork, right? He's a Bork user and he's going to shred champions like Galio who wants to build some health, champions uh, like Warwick who also will build some health. All these tanks in here are building health, so like he's fine I think here overall. Um, I think the problem I'm having right now, and I know Rusty will hate on me for this, but I just feel like Sejuani's in a weird spot right now. Like I feel like the champion should be doing so much better, especially in competitive. But she's one of the lowest win rate junglers right now, and she's been picked over 10 times. So I feel like there's something up with this champion, man. And I don't really know, and maybe just pick something else. There is a synergy with Yone with such passive or E, but I also feel like I'd rather see Sedge in a two melee comp at least. So that's
Hmm.
just my opinion of the pick, but it's just I don't know. It's been feeling weird. So maybe take that out entirely and just play a different tank. I don't know, play Zac or something.
I think Zach would have been pretty interesting here.
I
Yeah,
think
I
I
think
think it's better with Yone as far as the go in button, you know, because they both are about AOE, whereas Sedge isn't really about that, right? She's more single target. So and it's also really gross with Oriana. So
yeah, I like the Zach, but honestly, like I feel like if you're looking at that much engage on the left-hand side of the map, I don't think you go like a 3 damage carry plus utility support setup. Like I think you need more beef to even tank the engage, or at least try to draw a line in the sand so your damage dealers can actually do something.
yeah, I saw like there's a mid fight here on like the 20 minute 20 like 20 and a half minute mark or so,
I
And
actually just got to that, yeah.
yeah, you're looking at him like, oh, this is a great Yone pop off moment, and then Yone just dies.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, okay, that just sucks, man. I mean, he was a bit behind. He was 0-3 before that happened, but he was only down roughly like 10 CS. And honestly, I think he might have been up even before that because Camille had been able to farm for a good 30 seconds while he was dead. So, yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, he just popped. And I don't know if that's just him being behind other champions too. That could, like you said, that could be part of it. I mean, they do have a lot of CC for him. Rel, Warwick, E, and obviously Galio W. All that's pretty easy to land on the Yone.
Yeah. I look at the left side comp and I'm like, there's no way you can ever like out make the first move against something reactionary like Galio Rel. So uh it's just interesting. I feel like that if you had a little more tank stats in front of Oriana Varus, I would have liked to seen this game like played back over again with like a tank top. Um but then it comes into the discussion of like, okay, whose side lanes against Camille if she gets ahead, those type of questions. But all in all, I think Freebrax they had this like just dive bomb bonsai comp that looked really good. And I will give a shout out like Deeg on this Vayne. I know Vayne is traditionally a top laner now, as much as like the top laners hate it. Maybe Havoc can comment on that, but Deeg played this Vayne really well. I actually thought it was ban worthy game 3. Like he had a couple of really solid like flash condemns in the walls and pops off on fights.
Yeah, I've said it all split. I think Diggs had a really good split. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
when Freebacks was struggling really really bad, like I still thought Deke was like the bright spot, and I really liked them playing into that by just kind of giving him the ability to carry, and I think he's been doing a pretty good job at that. But
Yeah.
the whole team has kind of come along. I think Kellen has improved a lot in the jungle. Honky, when given opportunities, he definitely can shine. And we've seen him before.
Hmm.
Really good top laner. And then Squirrel and Big B, they kind of just play whatever the team needs. So, yeah, it's coming along pretty nicely. I'm looking forward to see what they can do here next week, obviously, because they're going to be playing for their playoff lives, and we can get into that a little bit before we end the show. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Was there anything else you guys had on this game or the series from either of you guys?
No, I
No,
don't think so.
it's a really entertaining series. It was fun to cast.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into the next one, which is Insane Banana Posse versus Coin Flip. Do we have anything for this series, Mr. CLT? Do you have any takes on game
Um,
one?
I did not catch some of this series. Like I tried to go back through on Twitch because I don't think we've moved it over.
Oh no, it's on there.
It is? Okay. But no, I did not catch that much of this series. I did find it interesting that they put a lot more pressure. Insane Banana did. They drafted a lot more like cohesive of a comp. It didn't feel like they were trying to like outcook their opponents here. With like the Nautilus mid and stuff. Like you seen War put. I think this is his first Galio the split. And you seen Crackler. I know he's really good on this Jace or not Jace. I'm sorry,
Jinx.
Jinx. Yeah, my apologies. We'll get to Jace in a second.
Wrong arcane character.
True, true. But and then Noob actually like held up quite well against Brandino, which I value Brandino as like a really talented top laner in Group A. So, but Flame Dog, I think he's so creative. This Ambessa jungle, it feels like if you leave it up, he's willing to pick it and play it in any situations. And he has a lot of really solid pop-off moments on it. But having been at the receiving end of this Lux Leona bot lane, like Swum, I I honestly I think I've voted for him in MVP if I'm gonna just throw that out there. Like he's had an absolute insane split. Last week I think he went with 35 and 3 in those 2 games. And he just continues to just find ways of not dying and just pumping out boatloads of damage for his team.
Yeah. Clarify, it's not MVP yet. It's All Stars.
Sorry, my apologies. All Stars.
But you heard it here now, folks. You can just shred CLT in the comments about how he's already got his MVP picked. So
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, I played against them week 1, and I know my bot lane put up a really solid fight into them, and even got some couple kills against them. But Geo Prowl and Swum are are insane. Geo Prowl's very aggressive. This team is named Coin Flip for a reason, but they seem to always land on heads.
yeah, have you seen any of I'm not gonna say this specific series, but any of Coin Flip's games this split yet? Havoc.
I want to say that I saw their week 1,
Oh,
but I
great.
think that's about it.
So way back when he watched one. Yeah, so this team, they're their only undefeated team we have left at the moment.
Yep.
So I didn't know if you kind of had a take on them at all. So, um, but from what you've seen, the one little series you've seen, are you surprised that there's 4-0 right now and no one's really tested them?
I wouldn't say so. Even though I've only seen the one series all the way through, I've kept up with their stats. And I mean, I think any team that can 2-0 Scorch is pretty impressive to me. I think Scorch has been a solid team since its inception, really. Um, like every time they've come back, they've put up a good fight, really. Uh, and I mean, you could say you could talk about if they're not performing as well this season as they have previously, or you could say that Coin Flip is really just they're just that good. I don't know, but uh yeah, I think they're performing really well. I'm impressed at the stat lines that they're putting out, especially in the bot lane. Um and I think that so far from what I've seen, I think they're going to be a really strong team going to playoffs.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And yeah, I do agree. I don't think they've lost a single game, have they, CLT? I've
Not to my knowledge. I can go back through and
yeah,
double check
and
that,
yeah,
but I don't remember them losing a game.
No, I don't think they
we've
have.
talked a little bit about these groups. I think on the side, and this is obviously not knocked any groups, but we've definitely said like Group A is very top heavy, with gamers and coin flip being like really strong, and then the kind of the middle of the pack. I don't want to say bad teams or weak teams. That's not the word I want to use, but they're just on the lower side of things for sure, in comparison, like in a comparison to the top teams of the group. Um, and So it's been very interesting seeing them obviously still dominate the group as hard as they have. Because like no matter what, every team that's coming to play, they're gonna play at a very competitive level. And obviously, I don't think Scorch is a low or bottom team either. By the way, or Insane
Mm-mm.
Banana Posse for that matter. I'm just again, it's based on comparisons here. Um, but yeah, they've been really impressive for sure. And this series here against the Insane Banana Posse is no different. I mean, they start off a little slow in this game 1, but I think that as a testament to, like you mentioned, Flame Dog. I think he's been one of the best junglers to split. Just his ability to make plays on anything he's playing, um, including the Abessa pick. But Coin Flip, they're not afraid to take fights. They're not afraid to duke it out, and they remind me a lot of an LPL team, to be honest.
I think it's fair, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of just scrolling through and seeing if there's anything that I missed. Man, this is a bloody game, dude. From the series we were just talking about, I click over to 25 minutes, 22 kills to 18. Jeez Louise, these guys are freaking going at it. Holy moly, big fight actually at the 25-minute mark. It literally it's super extended too. Wow, it's kind of crazy, and it looked like it was gonna go in the favor of Insane Banana Posse, but the pockets were just too fat on the side of coin flip. If you guys are checking that out. Some
Yeah, I'm
nice
looking at it
play.
now.
Geo had a pretty good solar flare that kind of set the fight up, and it actually looks yeah, this is the game ending play. That was insane. 27 kills to 19. And these are from two teams I think are really good. That's the funny part. Like, I would expect to see like two teams that are like very good teams, higher echelon, like it's going to be less bloody. No, if it's coin flip, we're gonna kill everything. So funny. But I think that a team like this though, and before we kind of jump into game two, the only thing that for coin flip I'd say moving forward is because of their chaotic play style. If they come up against a team that is just very level headed and just can like slow it down and allow coin flip to just make their mistakes, because coin flip's making mistakes. It's just that they're making mistakes, but so is the other team consistently enough, and coin flip's just flipping them more. Like you said, they're getting the better end of the coin flip on the bloodiness of the game. So if you're able to slow it down, and I think some teams that are more similar to like a Korean playstyle actually will do okay into them, because you can punish mistakes more when you're not trying to make plays as much. Like you're not trying to force plays, you know. Coin flip's just like, hey, let's just go for it and see what happens. Speaking of going for it, man, let's get into game two, and Aurelia popping up again. Brandino on this Aurelia has been disgusting, and then also Geoprow like once again on Elise support, man. Uh, this guy. So what do you think of Elise support, Havoc?
I've seen it several times in solo queue. And I think that if you have an understanding of how the pick wants to play and your ADC has an understanding of how the pick wants to play, I think it can be really strong. It has a ton of damage. It can allow you to make dive plays with the repel. Um, it does have the CC and it has pick potential. So, I mean, if you're looking to hard punish a lane, then I think it can be really strong. And I think if there's any lane that you do want to try to play something like that into, I mean, a Ziggs Yumi would be it. With that kind of uh lane where you don't really have any kill pressure, to be honest, and you want to shove the lane forward because you're playing Ziggs, I think that a pick like Elise can hard punish it really, really bad.
Yeah. Well, here's the shocker for you. It was definitely not
Mhm.
a Ziggs Yumi lane. It was a Ziggs Nautilus lane because
Oh, really? Okay.
yes, this was a the famous Kane Yumi strat that they've done in the past. So
I see, I see, I see.
yes, yes,
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly that makes it worse. So, I think that it's a good pick to punish. And I think if you're going to put your laners in a position like that, I think that you're going to get punished pretty hard, and it seems like they did.
yeah. It's worked in the past. I know they've had some success on it. I know. I think COT might have been in one of the games where it happened last split, if I remember correctly.
Yep, I
Uh,
do.
but yeah, I don't know. It still seems kind of wild to me. Did they ever give you the reasoning behind it? Like, what's the breakdown on it? It's obviously some sort of funnel strat, but
Um,
like, what's the how did what
so
makes it good?
so from what I remember from the conversation, because actually this is what like started me and War and like Crackler kind of talking a little bit. Was it was a lot to do like Flame Dog just loves the experiment. If you remember last split, he busted out like the River Shen jungle strategy that popped off on a game or two, and he's just so innovative in a lot of his picks. Even stuff like Mbessa Jungle. So that's kind of where it started, and some other teams have tried to take it and like outthink it a little bit. Not necessarily outthink it, that's a wrong term, but they tried their own variations of it. We've seen when they banned Kane and they still picked Yumi, Flame Dogs busted out Talon Jungle and did something similar. I just think Flame Dog just loves hypermobile champions, and he definitely loves like the carry side of the jungle aspect. Like we don't typically associate Skarner, Zac, Sejuani with Flame Dog. It seems like all of his games he has a really offensive like play style and champ pool. So this just works. This just works with his play style.
That's fair.
Yeah, they're creative.
Kane's a champion. He does things, you know.
Hmm.
And I just it's just crazy to me. Kane's actually, I think Kane's actually good, by the way. I just don't think he's great for a lot of competitive play, but I think he is a good champ.
I would agree. I just think the he's one of those champions that like loses curve on success when you play against when you show it too many times. Like people understand how to play into it. And actually this Kane Yumi strat, I don't think they have like a really positive win rate on it this split to where like last split it was showed once and people just banned it. Like we don't want to see this crap. But now teams they're seeing some value out of it. They're just seeing it in their own unique way. And the fact that teams are now learning how to play against it, it makes you wonder like what Flame Dog is cooking. So
Yeah, unfortunately, he was not able to carry in the game. I know he had a couple small little plays I've seen. There was a one where he made a nice little play on the RE mid to get a shutdown earlier on in the game. He's definitely trying, but sometimes you wonder if the experimental type picks or the really off meta heavy strats are good for the team, because you're taking a lot away from, and I think Havoc was kind of alluding to that. You're taking a lot away from the team now because you're forced to play around something that is. I feel like its win con is hard to reach. It's not an easy win con. So
I think it's fair, yeah.
I think moving forward, I think if this team wants to, make playoffs, which they can certainly still do, they need to me, and I'm not telling them what they should do. It's just how I would look at it. They should probably try to lean a little bit away from it and just try to focus on proper team coordinated play. And if they make it in the playoffs, maybe use that as a some other hidden strat they probably got up their sleeves. I'm sure Flame Dog's cooking in his little science room right now. Save that for a shock in the moment in playoffs or something. What is your? I'm gonna jump into the next game or series, but what is your take on this Havoc? Like with because we've seen a lot of teams that split, like a lot of cooking going on. What is your take on these very complicated, high risk, high reward win drafts?
I like it. I think that as long as and I'm going to assume that whenever these teams go into games like these, that they're on board for um this style of play. Um, but I think that whenever teams try to innovate like this and throw people off the norm, I think that it can create a lot of chances to win a game because um, I think that not many teams that are going to be playing against these strategies are going to, know what they are or how to properly counter them or exactly how to play into them unless they've seen it before and prepared heavily for it. So I think that there's going to be a lot of mistakes, even more so than normal, probably, that will be made whenever you go into those games. And I think that that chaos that it creates, if you can try to perfect that in your own play style and play how you want to play, I think it can be pretty effective. But yeah, sometimes it isn't going to work out because it isn't meta, and meta is meta for a reason. So
Makes sense. Good breakdown of that. With that being said, we can move on to the next series, CLT. And I know this is your series, so I'll let you lead it off, and that'll be Caster Curse versus Tom Kench Gamers.
Yeah. Uh yeah, this series. What a series overall. This we knew going into this that TK Gamers was just an insanely talented team. They've got Bori and a few others that have won the split last split, and it was going to be a tough one. But we decided to kind of play more of a skirmish style comp in this game one, with a little bit of like stability. So we Diablos, my ADC, he can play kind of a little bit of everything. I actually think of him a lot like Boonstra, where he can just play ADCs or play mages. So we took the Victor bot lane. Bulwark wanted to pair something a little more offensive with it, so the Nico came out. And then we just used the Nivea as kind of this backbone. If the fighting went south, we had wave clear and stability to get through it. And all in all, I think TK actually like really thought through the draft well. We weren't sure if the Morgana was going jungle because AP junglers just haven't been really favored this split, and it turned out it did with standby to bring in this Jace mid. Also, tank Jace, I I've never seen it before. I've heard some rumblings about it, but never like seen it in person. That does an insane amount of damage for just pure tank, by the way. Like I was taking a couple EQs in the face, like what the hell? Not sure if you guys have seen it in like the higher elo games or in Flex, but
Hmm.
it's a little terrifying.
Yeah, I'm sure Havoc's playing it right now. He likes to abuse things like this.
I don't hear no comment from him, so
I haven't played it yet. I have heard a lot about it. I'm not really sure what the science is behind it, but pretty interesting.
This,
yeah,
science says tanks are busted. Play tank. But
I
the
mean,
tank is
well,
a damage dealer that's building tank. I don't know, man. Freaking stupid.
well, some of the tank items are getting nerfed tomorrow, like Unending Despair, so it might not be as proficient, but I was even in lane and Standby caught me with an EQ. And I mean, he had like a couple kills under his belt, and I just pressed tab and I'm like, what? How did this hit so hard? Because I associate Jace with like lethality, AD, like doesn't scale well, so spikes in the mid game with items. And he was full tank and like doing respectable damage, but yeah, it didn't go our way. We fought and took a couple bad fights, and then just once they got Baron, Anivia can't wave clear that great into Baron minions. But this Morgana jungle, Poke Archer played it really well. So
Yeah, something we haven't seen in a while.
hmm
I believe doesn't Alves actually play that?
Alvis has played some AP junglers in splits in the past. He hasn't really preferred him too much this split, but yeah, Alvis has some AP junglers, including like his patented Rumble.
Yeah, I could have sworn he was a Morgana player too. But
I think he did play quite a bit of Morgana and like Brand and stuff last split.
yeah, so I'm surprised you guys weren't thinking that it could just go there. Because I also don't think Morgana's played much in support these days. Feels weird not seeing it down there like I used to. I mean, though I like it because it's really annoying to have to play against Morgana when you like to play stuff like Blitzcrank and Thresh. But it's still weird not seeing it.
I think we felt it was a really like kind of valued pick because the Nico like Victor was going to chain CC. You know, once Nico hits like an extended route, then it guarantees Victor's stun come out. So the Black Shield, if it stops the Nico route from coming out, then you know you just walk away from that whole combo and then you know reapply the trade afterwards. So that's kind of where our thought was. We knew there was a chance it went jungle, but I think we were just kind of prepared, thinking it was more of a support pick. But yeah.
That's fair. Was there anything you look back in this game here and something that was like really like darn like if this just didn't happen, we could have possibly turned the tides of the game.
There was a fight over grubs that I think we only got one kill, it was like a 1 for 3 that got I believe a double kill over the Jace, and that kind of started to break open the game a little bit. Because I still can't get over. I'm watching some of this back, like the Jace damage. Because I'm thinking if it's tank, okay, cool. It's not going to siege really well, and it still did. It felt like AD Jace. I don't know, like if its base damage is just that insane or what, but yeah. We picked Jace out in our bottom jungle, and he was just so tanky with Spirit Visage, Winter's Approach, Unending Despair, that like my whole bot lane plus Alves couldn't kill him. So, yep. Once they snowballed, it was really rough.
Yeah, well, like you said, they're nerfing an Unending Despair, so hopefully that whole entire thing will just go away. Also, sick Ash Arrow from downtown from Bori that landed on one of your bot laners there. It was kind of
Yeah,
gross.
yeah. They moved up for grubs, and yeah, Bori sent out like a level 6 arrow.
And it was
That
like at the very end of the fight too. That's what makes it more impressive. Because usually you see like earlier on in the fight, so it's easier to hit because there's multiple members. It was just one member downriver, and he landed that. So that was pretty nice. I always
Yep.
love seeing cross map plays from these ADCs. Whether it's
Yeah,
Ash, Ezreal, Jinx, Draven, whatever.
there's been a lot of good just Ash arrows this split. I know what was it, your ADC Mono had one really big in week 1 on a grub fight, and there's been a few others.
Yeah, and I know. Havoc, Geico likes to play a lot of Ash too, right? Uh, so you guys think that Ash is really strong right now, in your opinion?
I think I think Ashe is very strong, yes. I think that she shuts down a lot of other ADCs pretty well. I think she pairs with most supports really well. She provides a ton of utility and a lot of damage. I think that she's just very strong overall.
Busted. That's what I say. Busted. Hopefully, ADCs become a thing again, so Ash can go away.
I mean, then she's just gonna build crit.
True. Well, tell me about game two, CLT. Don't tell me about Ash building crit.
No, game 2 we went for a little more of a standard draft, and they first picked Yumi, and my heart sank because I kind of knew what was coming next. I thought there for a second it was going to be Yumi Nyla because I know Bori plays a boatload of Nyla and he's very good at that champion. But the moment I seen the Briar come out B2, it was like, well, I've seen this song and dance before. And we picked a lot of like team fight. Uh, Diablo had a really good call on the Varus because Varus has grievous wounds built into the kit. So we just wanted to play, we wanted to be able to like absorb the engage and then be able to like fight back. So when Briar hits an ult on like either Alves or Al, once he lands, we can throw down the Grievous Wounds field and then CC them with Hwei and stuff like that. But the fights were just so chaotic, and Relentless on this Alistar might have been the most annoying thing I've ever played against. It just if my front line was trying to team fight, Alistar was in the back line CCing me and Fox for what felt like an eternity, and we couldn't do anything. And then Bori's just throwing the little boomerangs and doing whatever the hell he wanted to do.
Throw a little
Um,
boomerang, do a little
I,
dance,
I
kill, cast a curse.
yeah, and did a lot of that. Havoc, if you can pull this up, I want you to look at this Cho'Gath build, by the way, and give me your thoughts. This is Ignite, Hail of Blades Cho'Gath that went Symbiotic Soul, Shurelia's, Zonya's, and the Dead Man's Plate. This thing was running at us at 100 miles an hour, and we couldn't do anything about it.
I've never seen that build before. Um,
That's
I don't.
crazy.
I mean, like, I understand why it works because Cho'Gath gets passive health anyway. So building AP, he's not going to be, squishy, and he's still going to be able to do a lot of damage. But it's interesting for sure. Um, I'm not really sure why this particular game that was the build that they went for, but I mean, obviously it kind of worked. So I don't know. I mean, it's interesting.
We were baffled. I think I had one team fight where I chunked out the Cho'Gath and I pressed tab and I was like, why the f is he not this tanky? And then I seen the items and okay, that's different.
Can we also point out that poor Relentless was still level 2 at freaking almost 6 minutes? Like, what the heck, dude?
Yeah, he roamed a lot.
Poor guy. Maybe roamed too much. What the heck? It's crazy. I mean, I guess they won, so it worked out, but it's absurd.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we disrespected the cooldown on Briar ult. I know there was a couple fights where I felt I made a call and I felt like it was a really good fight, but then we heard the Briar ult go off. I'm like, how was it back up already? But it's not a champion I see that often, so maybe again it was just a little bit of just disrespect because like Relentless would pop ult, buy up enough time for Poke Archer to land an ult. CC Star would then run at 1,000,000 miles an hour with Sivir ult and all of his movement speed, and it was something interesting to play against. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, they cooked something up for sure, and it ended up working out, but it kind of falls under the same vein as we talked about in the previous series. So I'm really curious if this stuff's gonna show up in playoffs. And Havoc, are you worried about it showing up in playoffs? This weird, like Yumi Briar or Yumi Kane or Yumi whatever mid right now, with the jungle. Is it
I
something that
mean,
would bother you?
I don't think so. Like I said, I like when people kind of try to cook stuff up. I think that it's a really good way to test who's actually better, to be honest. Because if you pull that out and then you lose, it just means that the opponents were too good to cook against. And that just forces you to play standard. And if you lose standard, then the other team was just better.
True. That is a proper explanation of what's gonna happen if you guys try to cook against me. You're gonna lose. I'm referring to all the teams in the league, obviously.
You have 100% win rate in the Zo jungle, so don't cook against him.
It's alright. I don't think Standby is gonna be playing Zoe Jungle. He's the mid laner now. So
I know.
um, I'm just impressed with all these players' ability to just be like, sure, I'll play Yumi for you, dude. Like,
Dude, I thought that too. I was like, I was really hyped to go into this matchup, and I have nothing but love and respect for TK Gamers and Standby and those guys over there. I was really looking forward to matching up against Standby and just like having a really quality matchup. And this dude picks Tank Jace and then Smite Yumi Funnel, and I'm like, really?
yeah,
Like,
that's
I
crazy.
I'm not gonna lie, I wanted the smoke.
And maybe you should ask him for a 1v1.
No, I'm good.
Standby. You've heard it here first. He wants a 1v1 live All-Star weekend.
Ah.
Yeah.
No, it was intriguing for sure. Like it was not on my bingo card to see Tank Jason funnel Yumi, but props off to those guys. They pulled it off.
Yeah. 100%. Well, with that said, we can move into the next series, and that's gonna be Small Brain No Mechanics versus Ice Wall. JK didn't happen. It was forfeited, so it's actually gonna be Peanut Butter and Jelly versus Backdoor Bandits. I would like to talk about this for a second though, about the forfeiting stuff. I know me and Havoc have had many conversations in the past, and I want to get deep into it, but I just want to say, like I said before, if you guys are feeling down and low about your situations in the league, just remember you can end someone's day, right? You can ruin their chances for making playoffs, for example. So don't give up. Play it out. I know it sucks, but you signed up. You might as well just finish it off and see what you can do. So, but I do get it. Sometimes it is mentally taxing, and some teams they decide to just forfeit, and that was what our situation was against Icewall. So, we got unfortunately a free win. So, but I will move on though to the other series, like I said, and that's again Backdoor Bandits versus Peanut Butter and Jelly. And this one was played. Oh my goodness, I think this was played before Christmas. It's like
I
December.
think so, yeah.
It was like December 23rd or something. So it's been a while. But this was the surprising, like one of the most surprising wins of the 2 weeks. Peanut
Hmm.
butter jelly getting this upset. And I know you're familiar with Julia Havoc. I don't know if you know anybody else on the team, but as far as the backdoor bandits goes, are you more are you more like what am I trying to think of here? Are you more impressed with Peanut Butter and Jelly's win, or more disappointed with Backdoor Bandit's loss?
Um, without actually watching the series, I feel it's kind of hard to say for sure on that. I think though, um, just looking at the games here, it looks like Backdoor Bandits kind of hard stomped them game one. And I know that that really puts a lot of I think that hurts a lot of people's mentals sometimes to lose a game so hard in the first game, especially whenever you're going into it as the perceived underdogs. Um, but it seems like they didn't really let that get to them. It looks like they changed up their drafting a little bit. They did end up taking the Sivir away, that they lost to in the first game. Um, and it looks like they just went for a much more aggressive style with a Darius fully bear Ari topside and a more scaling farming bot lane with Sivir Lulu, which I think is a really strong team comp in general. It looks like game two, maybe Backdoor Bandits cooked a little bit too hard.
Hmm.
Maybe they thought it was going to be a little bit of an easier series than it was. Um, I am familiar with their mid laner. I know that he likes Vi a lot. I am a little bit of a Vi mid enjoyer myself, but I don't think it's that good. Um, and I mean, it looks like he got punished really hard for the pick this game. I think that overall, the comp that Backdoor Bandits has isn't terrible. They do have a lot of pick potential with Twitch and Rek'Sai. Um, but yeah, I think the buy pick did not work out at all, and it looks like the Rumble may have gotten not gotten the chance to really get the lead that Rumble wants. Because I also don't think Rumble is in a super great spot currently either. So, um, I think that I think that it might be a little bit of both. I think that Backdoor Bandits probably underperformed from their usual play. Um, just looking at it from an objective standpoint, it kind of looks potentially like they won game one really easily, went into game two kind of cooking a little bit too much because they thought that it would kind of go the same. And then, potentially game three, maybe they weren't in the best mental state, possibly. Because I also think in game three, that team comp is pretty difficult to fight into. You have so much disengage and control with something like the Victor, the Amumu, the Maokai, the Cassante, and then the Victor and Sivir can just do so much damage from the back line. So, um, yeah, I think it is a little bit of both.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. Well, with that kind of little bit of an outside take, I know that I think I casted this with you, right? CLC, it was both of us. Like it's been that long, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think you jumped in. This might have been like the last game of that big casting day you had there right before Christmas.
yeah. So, but yeah, game one, we can kind of start off there and kind of get a little more depth into it. Um, but yeah, like he kind of said, I know it was a bit of a slaughter, honestly. As Vector Bandits just kind of ran over that game. What was your kind of like takeaway from game one here, CLT? Because I do remember like seeing the chat being like, you kind of get the vibe like, yo, it was probably over with just based off of game one already.
Yeah, game one, like, we knew Backdoor Bandits. At least we've seen their mid play Garen before. So when you see the Garen come out on the R4, I felt like PB&J's response to it in the form of like Gnar Vex was interesting. I've played against a few Garen mids before, so I have a decent idea of like my champ pool really likes to play into stuff like that. Vex, like trying to steamroll into a Garen is normally not a recipe for success unless you basically like outstat check him in the form of like Darius. So the Vex was interesting. I didn't feel like there was really any real target for Vex. And if you did land a good ult, you just have Karma Shields and like get insta-Vi ulted and stuff like that coming out. So the Vex was a little weird, and we could see clearly like very early in this game that the Vex was not going to be very effective. So I felt like it was a touch of like draft diff in that sense. But yeah, Backdoor Brilliant has played this well. It seems like when they are allowed to make the first move, they can pick up a really like they're explosive in the early game. SCYX has a lot of like really offensive, like almost like what I was talking about Flame Dog, but he picks junglers that gank a little bit better in the form of like Vi, Rek'Sai, stuff like that, where he can put pressure on the map early, get his team ahead, and then snowball off of those early leads.
Yeah, I've definitely been impressed with SCYX's play. One of those junglers that I've, um, looking at as a counterpart to myself. And go, yeah, I gotta be on my best game when I face this guy, which unironically enough will be this week coming up. So, um, looking forward to that matchup personally. But yeah, very impressed with the play. And he picked Vi in a situation where I think Vi had pretty decent value here. Vi is pretty good in Tanar. Um, it's actually really good. People don't know this, but it's actually really, really good into the why can't I think of the champion? Snip Snip, really good into Snip
Gwen,
Snip champion. Yeah, Gwen, my brain, a
huh.
little tired, guys.
Nip
Yeah,
snip.
it's
I'm
Snip
saving
Snip,
that for next cast.
Snip Snip. Yeah, it's actually pretty good into Gwen. I know that Gwen has her ability to, you know, go invulnerable, but that doesn't last forever. And once Vi is on top of you, you're just kind of screwed. So, um, yeah, high value here, I think, from the Vi pick. And then yeah, Garen's just a menace. I feel like maybe people will start picking just a top laner into a top laner in the mid lane against this guy. Like, because I know Garen's got some tough top lane matchups.
I think like Garen, just speaking specifically from mid lane, he he always like is so high tempo that he pushes the lane into you. So a lot of zone control like wave clear mages work really really well into him. Like two of the three that could really punish him and push him around in Victor Hui were banned. So I think Garen value increased, but also like if you play something that scales just as good, like Syndra comes to mind. Like you're going to easily stack off Garen and then meet him in the mid game with true damage and kind of blow him up or at least do enough damage that the rest of the team cleans up
Yeah.
in that regard.
Can we also talk about everybody needs to stop getting inside of Herald if you don't know how to drift with Herald, man. 20 minutes I just watched I watched the AD carry here drift into a wall. What's going on here, man? Oh, jeez Louise.
Yeah, I felt like that might have been a misclick. I don't know.
That's the case. This is about the fifth or sixth time it's happened in this league. God darn. Everybody's been doing it, man. It's like a trend. Havoc,
Yep.
are you good with your drifting skills?
I think so.
Oh, okay. So Cyan this week?
Never.
Never.
Oh, not even a no. It's a flat never.
All right. If you
Okay.
if you get if you end up in All Stars, I'm gonna request you play Cyan.
Oh man.
Well, we can jump into game two now. I think we know kind of how game one went. It was like we said, it was pretty much just I mean, we was at 11K. Yeah, it was 11K gold lead at 21 minutes. I mean, there's only so much game to talk about at that point. So,
Well, game two is going to be kind of short.
Well, yeah, I get.
This Vi mid, bro.
Yeah, Havoc brought it up already, right?
No.
How bad was
Uh,
it? Let's hear it.
Look, like Vi mid is terrifying if you don't know how to play against it. And they did first pick Vi again, but I don't like into Ari is like probably one of the worst things to play it into. You telegraph exactly when you're coming and what direction you're coming from. You're asking for an Ari charm. It just I don't I don't get it. And it kind of went the way I thought it was going to. Ari, I think, got a solo kill or two in lane. Volley Bear after level 6, they just dived this Vi, and it was all she wrote after that. I mean,
You know what's funny though is Vi's actually good into Ari. I just don't know if it would be good into lane Ari. You know, like if from the jungle it's great, but yeah, I guess it'd be kind of hard in the mid.
yeah, I've been on the receiving end of like leth. That was the other thing that kind of confused me, and I think Havoc, you just mentioned you were like a Vi mid enjoyer. All the Vi mids I've seen go lethality. This one went like full bruiser, like Trinity Force cooldown boots.
Hmm.
I just, dude, I don't. This was a game where I kind of agree with Havoc. Like sometimes this was an overcook, and they got burnt.
Yeah, you could say they forgot to take the toast out of the oven. You know.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think this one they took a bath with. It's that toaster.
That's crazy talk, man.
Dude, like I'm normally not that negative on drafts, but I scratched my head and I tried to legitimize this Vi pick, and it just no. Even SCYX, as great of a jungler and fast tempo as he is, and his Rek'Sai, I think he's the only jungler that's played Rek'Sai this split, and he's played at an insane level. He's drawn some bans with it. If you see Rek'Sai coming, you just charm him out of the tunnel, and he doesn't, and you just walk away from that too. It's like it just felt like it was just the worst spot to play this Vi mid in, honestly. But they committed to it.
Yeah. So you'd say it wasn't a very close game from your point of view.
Uh, no, Twitch had a couple of great openings and did some work in the team fights, but the the other comp was just so much further ahead. The PB&J comp that it was hard to play the Twitch into. Twitch would open up, get like 3 autos, and instantly had a volley bear that was polymorph or not polymorph, but was Lulu Ard interface. You had ricochet bullets going into the back line hitting this Twitch. Ari sometimes would find an angle and dive it, and it was when you're basically not worried about Vi at all, it it ended up almost looking like a 4v5. It was not great.
Unfortunate. Yeah, I'm seeing though the goal lead was like relatively still close for most of the game. I mean, even at 22 minutes, it's only 5K, and about 4 or 5 minutes before that, it was pretty close. On top of a really nice Drake steal here by SCYX at
Yeah,
the 22-minute mark here, 22 and like a half, I should say, um, which did certainly probably help stall the game a bit. But yeah, when you give yourself again, as we've stated, if you put yourself in a situation where your win con is much harder to achieve, these could be the outcomes. So,
Mhm.
all hats off to Peanut Butter and Jelly, though. You know, they exploited it, and they were able to win this game. But I think for me, I remember Game 3 was probably the best of the three for sure. I think it was the most interesting. And,
Agreed.
and even though the kills weren't that close, the game felt like it still had the potential to go either way.
Yeah, game three, the draft was pretty standard, but then loading in the game, you seen it was actually Sivir mid, and the Victor went bot lane, and this was I think this was one of the first series of the week, and I think this game right here, for the people that watched it, kind of kicked off this whole like, oh, Victor can actually go bot and stand his ground against some of these ADCs, especially the lower tempoed ADCs like Jinx, where you're just kind of free scaling with them. But also like Sivir into this Galio, you're just pushing this Galio in. If he ever tries to E at you, you just spell shield it and run away. So there was little to no tempo that backdoor bandits could do.
I think the most interesting part of this whole thing is just seeing, um, like the fact that these mid laners and these AD carry players can basically just do each other's roles and play each other's champions. I think that's the most interesting part, and we're seeing it happen in multiple series. So I find it pretty hilarious to me. So and it's almost like bring back the old AD carry meta back when AD carries used to go mid, just so they can get
No,
the most
please don't.
farm. No, I'm not talking. I'm not talking about the one that was last year. I'm talking about the one in like season 2 or 1 or whatever. Uh,
Oh, wasn't playing.
yeah. I'm none of us were playing. I just know it was a thing back then. AD carries need to get their farm, so that's how they did it.
I I do have a question if I'm gonna bring in Havoc here for a second.
Mhm.
We've seen this I think a couple times. It may come up again this week, but split pushing as a strategy, like we see Fiora in this game 3. Outside of Camille, is there really any split pushers that like do well in this kind of 1-4 strategy? Like we don't even see Jax top that often right now compared to those splits in the past. What's your like thought on the strategy, or is it just like Fiora just doesn't do it as good as some of the others?
Um, I think that Fiora can be fine, but I think that you really have to get a pretty large lead in a certain type of matchup for it to work, because she doesn't provide the same value in team fights that something like Camille does, which means that you have to be strong enough to where they are forced to send people to you, um, and make your teams either 4v4 or 4v5 while you're getting something for it. Um, I think with something like Camille, for example, I think she is the best example where she can provide so much value in a team fight by locking down a carry in her ultimate. Um, that even if she doesn't get that big of a lead where she can reliably force side lanes, she can still be useful. I think Gwen can be. Her splitting is really, really strong, and she can also provide a ton of value to team fights. I think she's also a really good flex pick for your jungler if they play it. Um, I think I'm a little bit biased on it. I think Set can be a really good split pusher and also really strong for team fighting as well. Um, but I think that in general, it is a little bit difficult to force splitting in competitive play, which is why you don't see it as often, and why I think Camille is favored over champions like Fiora.
Do you think it's fair to say that like Camille is just like the premier when you talk about the strategy just because of ease of execution? Or is it just,
I
you know,
think that I think it's pretty fair to say that she is one of the strongest. But I also think that she isn't as of a strong spot as she has been in recent memory. Um, so it's kind of up to your preference a little bit. Um, Realistically, you can make a lot of different champions work. Like you mentioned, Jax. Like Jax can still work for sure. But because of the way top lane is, I think it's very matchup dependent. I think even if you get counterpicked whenever you're playing something like Camille, um, if you can get the right resources from your team, then you can very easily still take over. Maybe it just will take a little bit longer. Um, but I think because of her versatility, in being able to lock down a specific target, even if you're not doing all the damage, even if you're not the one securing the kill, just isolating that target so that your team can collapse on them, I think is why she would be considered the premier pick, because that in of itself is just so much value.
That's fair. I was kind of just curious. Yeah, just I've only seen Camille threaten like the 4-1 strategy. Seems like anytime we've seen Fiora, um, she's the only other one picked there. It's just not. It hasn't had the greatest success. So
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that.
I think split pushing is can be done in different ways. I think some games your split pushing is just for more of the side lane pressure to look for more objective play and have your
Mm-hmm.
top laner kind of move for that, right? Whether it's TP or something else. And in some games, it's you just split push only, right? Like this is your job. We don't need you because if you're there with us, you're useless. One,
Yep.
like, or two, it's we actually just cannot win the game if you don't find a way to pull multiple members over and just like God mode this game.
Yep.
So, um, in competitive play, I don't think you see a lot of that God mode type play, right? Because it's
Right.
not that somebody's not good enough to pull it off. It's more about um, usually teams aren't going to let you win through split pushing. Usually, it's very difficult. So
Mm-hmm.
macro play, a lot of people should have pretty good idea of how to macro play well, especially at this elo where we're hovering between what like low plat to about masters, right? Um, where the most consistency is probably like emerald diamond elo. So most of those players should have a really good understanding of at least a at the worst a very low high level. I'll call it a low high level of macro or even a high level of macro. So um, and then you incorporate a team and then you see that not work as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. Well, I got then one other thing. Not to go too deep into this, we can move along. But would it also be fair to say that like sometimes, and maybe Havoc has like the best viewpoint on this, being a top laner, but is it kind of also a result of like mages actually have a chance of side laning a little bit better in this like the state of the game right now with the access to wave clear and stuff like that? They could just absorb the side lane push a little bit better. Is that fair to say, or what's your thoughts, Havoc?
I think it's pretty fair to say. I think that there are several control mages that, depending on what champion you are playing, um, can kind of just prevent you from splitting altogether. It's not really possible for you to um, by yourself, because of that wave clear that they have. Even if you build up a big wave and push it to their turret, a lot of them can just one shot the wave, and then you're kind of just standing there useless. Um, so in those times, it's still going to be, 4v4 elsewhere while the mage is matching the splitter. Um, but then, whoever ends up getting into the fight first with their TP is probably going to win it. And unless the splitter is pretty fed, they're probably not going to get enough value out of staying in the side lane. Um, to warrant not TPing to a fight. So, yeah, I think it makes it pretty hard for a lot of split pushers. And again, I think that that's another reason why Camille is so valued, because she does have that gap closing ability, um, and a way to keep them in the fight. So, I would say that that is probably pretty fair to say.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, we can go ahead and jump into the last series of Group B, and that's the Load the Cannons versus Sad Jellyfish. So, I think I'll lead off with this one because I know CLT you watched some of it, but I was the one that casted it. So, um, I want to say first off, I was pleasantly surprised at how and I say this knowing they're a good team. It's just what's been going on recently that they said Jellyfish looks really good here, like really good against Load the Cannons. And it almost felt like Lowly Cannons might have been off their game as well a little bit. But I mean, the biggest thing was just Sagittarius was great. As far as the games, or game one, I should say, we did see a Cassidin come out here from the side of Lowly Cannons. I did think it was in an okay spot here, but I don't think it was the best option as far as a mid pick here. And the rest of the comps, like, it's just a bunch of ranged with Sejuani, and I don't like that either. And we kind of talked about that a little bit earlier. I know Nar technically will go melee for him, but majority of the time he is a ranged champion. So Sejuani only had one good synergy, if that, because not a lot of attack speed from the Rel. So I really didn't like Loth Cannon's comp too much. Like, it had opportunity to scale up, of course, because of the cast and hit level 16, become OP. I kill everybody. But again, like, even if you're trying to look at that, like, we've got an Olaf, we've got a J4, like, we've got things to shut down this Cassidy pretty quickly if he tries to dash in. So, um, but yeah, I mean, Salt and Dippy just had a Salt and Dippy kind of performance from them. Like, it's shades of their split that they won a couple splits ago, where both of them constantly were just having super efficient games. And then they had a fill at jungle. Haku was out, so the sub was a guy named Rizzy, and dude came in. He filled the spot really well, and I thought he was really pivotal in shutting down Low the Cannons very well. Um, the games were really just dictated around early jungle play, I think, and I thought, Frozen started off well, got a good early gank on Dippy, but then after that, they just kind of seemed frazzled on the side of the Cannons, and Rizzy was just all over the map, constantly just ganking bot, ganking mid. He didn't matter. He was there. He was showing up. So really good performance from their sub jungler here. But yeah, sad Jellyfish overall. It just looks really good here in game one. So did Havoc, did you catch any of this one at all?
No, I didn't. I think that I agree with your points about Slow the Cannon's comp game one though. Um, I think Sejuani is a champion that is kind of people kind of fall back on it as a kind of reliable choice, because it had so much prominence. Um, I know that it did get nerfed, not that long ago, and it hasn't been as strong of a pick. I think with certain comps, it can definitely still work, but I don't think that this was the comp for it at all.
Yeah, definitely not. I I really can't figure out what's up with Sejuani. Like I said, I don't know if it's situations like this where it's just not picked in the right spot, or if it's just bad. And I'm starting to think it might just be bad, because even when we played against Sad Jellyfish, we lost that series. I was sniping people in that series on the Sejuani. Like, I had so many nice alts, and I was even impressed with myself. And like, I'm a Lee Sin player, so things don't really impress me that often. And I was like, oh wow, I'm actually doing some really clean things. It didn't matter. I don't know what's up with the champion. So I know some of the junglers might hate my take on it right now, but I just do think Sejuani might just actually be a bad champion right now. But again, if you want her to work, you need to pick her in the right spots.
Mhm.
I uh I've noticed this week as we're kind of going through the games, like there is not much prio on Skarner. And correct me if I'm wrong, Hair, because you're the jungle guy here. Ain't Skarner just a better Sejuani right now? Honestly, a little slower tempo, I'll give you that, but just as tanky, scales better.
I
Uh,
think the value from Sejuani comes from uh the ultimates being able to throw it from across the screen and lock down a target, especially from Fog of War. Skarner can also come from Fog of War with his E, but it's visible. well before he actually makes it out of the wall. But I think having Sejuani hidden in a bush or behind a wall, and landing a solid ult on a carry, I think is what kind of draws people to her in addition to the level of CC that her basic abilities provide. Um, I think kind of baseline they are pretty similar, but I think that Skarner one I think is banned a lot because I do think he is much stronger as a champion. Uh, but then two, Sejuani is also just really easy to not mess up, and does pair well with certain picks that people like in top lane, sometimes mid lane. Um, and I think that that's what kind of draws people to pick her over Skarner, if it's even a choice. But again, I think Skarner is banned a lot.
The two series that we've kind of commented on the ineffectiveness of Sejuani,
Mm-hmm.
Skarner wasn't banned. Like
Mm.
Skarner was not picked or banned this game one at all.
Yeah.
And I mean, I will also say that, like I said, Sejuani I think is a champion that people fall back on a lot because I think it's kind of a basic champion that a lot of junglers pick up, especially recently because she was so high prio. I think some people never really picked up Skarner. I mean, I'll use my own he's I'll use my own jungler for example. He doesn't play Sejuani, but he'll play Skarner. My support who sometimes plays jungle, plays a lot of Sejuani, but doesn't play Skarner. And I mean, you can say what you want about that just being ineffective whenever it comes to competitive play, because Skarner is just the better choice, I think. But um, I think that there are a lot more players that fall back on Sejuani than there are players that fall back on Skarner.
Yeah. Before we get into that, I actually do want to get into more of the conversation. Let's finish up the series, and then before we get into Group C, we can actually talk about that Skarner conversation a little bit. But as far as it goes, uh, I will say, just to finish off Sedge, that one of her weaknesses too for me is that doesn't she goes after shock. She's not building a lot of the OP tank items right now, like Undying Despair as much. Like it's not really one of
That's
her
fair, yeah.
items. She's not a grasp taker to stack health, generally speaking, unless maybe you're taking the top lane. So like she basically doesn't do any of the things that your standard take is doing right now, and that might actually be why. And now that we're sitting here having this conversation, I think I might have cracked the code. Maybe just do that, and then maybe she'll work. I guess I try that, guys. Just build those items and freaking go grasp. But I mean, at this
Not, not
point, the season's gonna change, so who knows?
not to start the conversation all over again, but whatever happened though, like Warmog's never really got like a heavy nerf, and then people just quit building it on Sejuani. Hmm?
I still think it's a high value first item for her, and I do think another one is actually just honestly Locket. Those are like two of her best items in my opinion as far as
Rocket's
competitive play.
broken.
Yeah, yeah. If you can build Locket on your jungler, it's so high value. So there's some good things about the pick. It's just, and you can see here she built Zeke's conversions. So I don't think like the pick is just completely garbage in the sense like don't pick it at all. I said there wasn't synergies here, but I also like Sedge into Hwei. You talk about the ability to land the ulti from kind of across the screen, right, Havoc? Well, that's something that Hwei does not want to deal with. If he sees Skarner, he drops his fear as the E's coming in. It's easy. Bye bye Skarner, right? So I do think there was an angle. Maybe just draft some other things around it. Maybe take the Gnar out of there and put something else in there. I don't know. But nonetheless. Oh, and I guess I technically was wrong about this. I guess Cassidy is the melee champion too. So I guess there was two melee champions, but Cassidy's not really going to be in there autoing like that.
The one thing Load the Cannons didn't need this game was Olaf popping off because he was the one catalyst that could get into this not necessarily low damage but low tempo backline and just murder everybody.
Yeah, they had no answer for him. They could
Yeah,
Mhm.
they could not kill this Olaf man. And this was a premier, like I said, premier Dippy Saw performance. Like they both had. I mean, between the two of them, they went 18-1-20.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, they kind of popped off. But let's just jump into game two here so we can get on to Group C. Yeah, game two. I feel like it kind of went similar to game one. Like if you look at how the games transpired, it was pretty much almost the exact same situation. Some stuff went okay early for Load the Cannons, then Load the Cannons kind of messed up, and then the early game got a little out of hand already. It was only a couple K though, so they still had a chance. And then all of a sudden you get to like the 15, 16 minute mark, and the game just starts to crack open, whether it's a Drake fight or a Herald fight or whatever. But it was very similar. So like Load the Cannons issues in this series were kind of just the same thing. And so you could chalk it up. Maybe they were just really, really off. Because what they've shown for us so far, the split, they've definitely seemed like a much better team than this. But that's not what we got out of them in this series. Um, as far as the champ picks, um, I think their draft is a little better, for sure. Um, I like Zach. I like Syndra. I like Silver. Like I like all those champions. I think Thresh is a very very good champion for Strawberry Milk. I know he plays Thresh at a very high level. So their draft was good, and then obviously P Diddy and Camille. He's good at that champion for sure. So you ended up with a I think a solid draft, but execution was just again a little off. And then on the flip side, you left open stuff like the Victor. Victor gets drafted here. Sokkel's 10-3-4, has a really nice performance. And then Marcuti, just his ability to roam and playing one of his top champions in Rakan, and just he had a way with this game.
Yeah, I actually felt like looking at this comp on paper, this might have been the best draft I've seen against a Victor. Rurika's played this early game really well, but Mark Cutie's just ability to affect the map. If he's allowed to do like if he's allowed to leave his ADC and just go affect this map, it's an absolute nightmare to play against.
Yeah, 100%. And having you, I mean, you've played against these guys, obviously. Like, what do you think about like considering how they've had a little bit of a rougher split? They're turning around, but like what do you think about Mike Cutie and Sad Jellyfish?
I mean, I think that they're solid players, and I think that they generally are. I mean, like you said, maybe they've been having a little bit of a rougher split this time around than they had before, seeing as how they have won, the whole split previously. But I think they're good players. I think they've got a lot of experience. They play well together. There are so many different reasons why a team can look worse for one split than they have in a different one. But I think that at their core, they're still good players. They still know what they're doing. Um, and maybe it took them a little bit of time to come online, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them continue doing really well.
Yeah.
Is it?
Do you like going against sports like Mike Cutie, like that roam heavy? Is that something you like to see,
I
or
mean,
would you rather have a
I
stationary guy?
I mean, it's not something that I like playing against. Every time I play against their team, they impact top a lot because Dippy is a good player. And so, I guess it's annoying being on the receiving end of that, but I think it's good. I think that it's a good strategy, and I think that it has brought them success. I think Mark Hudi has a lot of picks that he can bring out and do really well with. And I think that his roaming is some of the most effective roaming of the supports that we have in the league.
Yeah. I think this is like one of the scariest teams going into playoffs because even though they haven't had a great like regular season stat wise, when this team clicks, they look insane. You kind of seen that this series too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. This is the best. This is the best of them so far, I think. Right, this is the best they've looked.
I think
This
that's
is
fair,
their
yeah.
their 2-0 as well. They haven't had any 2-0s in their victories. So, uh, yeah, they definitely looked like they were in form. Obviously, looking forward to Haku coming back because obviously that's going to, hopefully they can carry the momentum with Haku. Um, but I was definitely impressed to see them have a sub jungler and play as if Haku was basically there. So it was very very good play. And once again, like I think this sad thing is just seeing sad not sad jellyfish but load the cannons just look as off as they were. And I should say this, and most people wouldn't have known this, but I know that Frozen was sick that day, so that certainly probably impacted some of his play as well as the team's coordination. But still, it didn't feel like load the cannons. It felt like uh, Rika and the boys for a series, honestly, which is surprising because they've got some really talented players. But
Yeah.
I will leave it at that. I don't want to. I'm not here to put down load the cannons. More here to prop up sad jellyfish. But load the cannons has an important matchup, so hopefully they can get their victory and find themselves in playoffs. Meanwhile, I think sad jellyfish should be good to go, so they should be in this week due to the forfeit from Ice Wall. So unfortunately, again.
Is it like not only is this the scare like I would argue the scariest team to see in playoffs, but you give this team who hasn't performed well 2 weeks off with a new season patch coming in to start off playoffs. Mm,
Yeah.
that's deadly.
It could be if they play the game. I know Dippy doesn't like to play.
Oh, of course he doesn't. Dude's goated and he doesn't play the game. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But all right, so let's get to Group C. We're getting very very close to Havoc series, so I'm sure he's raring to talk about that. And so let's jump in here to the first of Group C. That was T1 Tempest for versus Instant CK. Um, COT, were you able to catch any of that series by chance?
This was unfortunately one of the series I did not catch any part of. I apologize there.
Okay, so it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. So I casted this series again. This one was fun to cast. T1 Tempest did have some change in their roster. Um, Hexify came in, went mid. He had subbed for them top lane, but he officially became their mid laner. And Esco moved from bot to top, and then Aqua came in to as the new support. So I was curious what this team was going to look like, and I do think they battled pretty well against a team that has been kind of up and coming in the league. The team that I've been highly impressed with in Instant CK. Um, and my boy Arctic, man, he's been a menace. Let me tell you, this guy. I think he's having, as far as top laners go, like an MVP type top laner split. Like he's up as one of the best top laners in the league. Havoc, have you guys got to play them yet? I forget.
Um, we are about to play Instinct CK for week 5.
You're about to. Okay, I am looking forward to that. I think you two are gonna have a fun matchup, and yeah, Arctic is has been popping off, and things that you don't expect to pop off. He played the Poppy here in the top lane, which you kind of expect some pop off from that, but played it really really well. I mean, it was into a counter matchup, but he made it look like living hell for the Jacks. Finally, we did see Skarner being picked up by a team. Someone played him, and Avo did really really well on the Skarner pick. And then we're seeing some Azir. We haven't got to see a lot of Azir at all. We saw an Ares game on it, and I think did we play it? I can't remember if we got to play it, but nonetheless, we haven't seen a lot of it. So Good Boy pulled it out, and it looked very dominating against Hexify's Diana. So, but yeah, what was your takeaway on this game? Because I know you caught some of it, right, CLT? Like I could have sworn you were messaging me before, at least a little bit.
I did. Yeah, I do remember catching a little bit of this game now that I'm seeing the setup a little bit. Uh, my only question was the Diana pick. It's not something you see mid that often, and I don't know when it was taken in the draft. I was like just curious why Diana. You don't really do much into Azir. The moment you jump on him, he just shuffles you into a turret. You got Poppy there, Ash Milio. You don't really blow up anybody with enchanters around, like unless you catch them, unless you're like ahead and you catch them on like a pick situation. But Diana's really not playing for picks. She's playing for the big ults. So I don't. I was kind of curious. I mean, I see he did a boatload of damage based on the Battle5 stats. 30% team damage is pretty respectable. But I just I question the vibe, the not the vibe, the Diana pick quite heavily in this draft.
Yeah, I couldn't say. Um, yeah, I really don't know. I don't really know much about Diana Mid, to be honest. I don't have a take on it. Havoc, do you have anything about it you feel or you know of why maybe it would be good here?
Um, I mean, into this specific comp, I don't think it's good at all. I think that she has a really tough time playing into Instinct's comp just in general, because she does want to dash on you, but you have Poppy W, you have Skarner, you have the uh Azir ult. I mean, you have the AoE cleanse and heal from Emilio. Uh, I think that she has a really, really hard time into this composition, but yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Diana mid in general. I don't really like Assassin's mid in general that much. Um, when it comes to competitive play, she can be really good in certain positions against certain teams, but I don't think this was it.
Yeah. And and just talking about it even more is like the Azir that you talk about the wall. It actually synergizes super well with Skarner E. He can actually E into the wall, so to get extra stun off. So yeah, it was an interesting spot for it. Like I said, I'm not familiar with Diana in the mid lane as much these days as much as I am in the jungle. I don't really see it mid, nor do I understand why people pick it mid. Regardless of being an assassin, it just seems like a harder champion to play in the mid lane these days.
Yeah.
So, um, but yeah, I mean overall this game really it was just it was the top side of the map show. Eclipse and Don Don just kind of chilled bot lane, hung out, cracked open a couple beers. Threw on the football game or whatever because they really didn't have to do anything. They just watched their team pop off on the other side of the map, um, and that they did. I know Avo had a lot of good flanks with the Skarner, um, setting up the team, and like I said, and Arctic too, man. That guy, he had like a couple dives on the Jax, and I'm just like, this dude will not let this guy play the game. And I already know Jax is countered by Poppy, but man, like when you see it, actually like watch it, it's like, oh god, this is horrible. I would never want to be this Jax in this situation.
Hmm.
And I know you play a little bit of a Poppy top. So if you saw this situation, I don't remember exactly where Jax was picked. I could check, but let's see. I'll check for you. So if you could B5 Jax, are you picking the Poppy as an R5 pick there too?
Into their team, yeah, for sure. Because like I said, I do think it's a good pick into Jax, and like I said, I think it's good into Diana as well. Um, I mean, even Sejuani has a dash as well. It's not as important as the other two, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a good pick. So I think that that's definitely I think that was a good option from Arctic to go for here for sure.
I mean, I see the theory behind their comp. Like Diana, Jax get a boatload of melee attack speed. They proc the Sejuani passive, and even on that note, the Braum passive well. Diana sets up Braum ult, Jax stun, Misfortune ult. Like I see the theory behind it. I just don't think the comp, like the champions in the comp, are in a good enough state that they can wither the storm of something like a zone control mage like a Azir, or even an enchanter like Milio.
Yeah. Also, you can't cleanse suppression, guys. So, cleanse will not help you against Garner. Just people are aware.
Yep.
I saw a rule try to cleanse it in a fight here just now, and I go, oh, yeah, it's not gonna work. I have to be reminded of this stuff too sometimes, guys. So don't forget.
I actually had to think about that because I was like, wait, I think I've sworn I've seen it before, but
Yeah, they need to change cleanse. Yeah, or maybe not. Maybe cleanse is fine, but it just feels like you should be able to cleanse it. So kind of feels bad. I know QSS. You can't QSS everything anymore either, right? There's a bunch of shit they took out.
you can
Yep.
QSS for suppressions. You can't QSS mortal. No, I
Yep.
believe was the one
It's
change
just
they made.
Mortal was the change, yeah.
What was there?
Mhm.
Well, you can't QSS at all too. You know, if anybody remembers
Oh,
that.
well, yeah.
It's been
Sad day
a
when that came out.
yeah, sure. Not for Zed players though. But
Well,
yes, jumping into game two here. The surprising thing for me here was the Kale pick. And I remember interviewing them, and they kind of broke down why they picked it. I guess Kale is pretty good at Dixante, so that's why it was pulled out. But it really didn't get to showcase, I feel like, what the champion's abilities are. I was a little worried about the comp too, as I thought that Two and Tempest's overall comp was good, was strong. With the Senna Ash, you're gonna have some really nice scaling out of the Senna. Got a lot of range, so it's really hard for Talia by really anybody on their team to really just touch them as the game progresses. Um, and you had really nice zone control slash um, disengage with Maokai alt. Um, so it was one of those situations. I was like, I feel like T1 Tempest can certainly win this game if this game just goes to like 30 minutes. And I get Kale is going to scale too. I get that part, but she's going to get outranged here by the Senna, and I'm like, it'll be fine. It won't be a big deal, and the Hui for that matter. So it's like, good luck. But yeah, that was the most surprising pick for me. As far as the game went, like, Good Boy just completely went off this game. I mean, he had a really good Azir game, but this Talia game was insane. Dude was just popping off, getting kills left and right. Was probably one of the most dominating Talia performances I've seen in a very, very long time. And then Avo having himself a really nice Vi game. And I know I shit on Vi a lot, so it was really nice to see Vi have so much success. And then
is it? Am I seeing this right at the beginning of the game? Was this like a lane swap with Senna following the jungler for souls at the beginning?
yeah, I was about to actually get into that, but yes, there was. I was about to bring up the fact that I thought for a second here, I was like, okay, cool. So they're doing something to try to like punish this Kale, but then like the problem is they end up losing two members. One of them only dies to execution, Tataria, but uh, still like the dive was scuffed, and Vi was able to get one of her camps. I don't feel like she should have got a single camp in her jungle, and then even go take a camp from Maokai. I was very, very confused what was happening. Also, I don't like the AP build here for Maokai at all. I wasn't a big fan of that, so I would have rather seen him just go tank.
I think phase rush on Maokai is quite interesting too.
Yeah, yeah. Phase rushes are right, but overall, it was really weird to see see what the Maokai was doing for me personally in a game like this. But yeah, they had the right ideas. Like they were making plays. Like they tried to set up a player into Leah early on. Everything's looking good. It just things were just not going their way, and they ended up just getting punished. And the Maokai fell really far behind off of these two plays between bot and mid here, and then the Vi just kind of took over with again the Celia that was just like a second jungler.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like it had shades of Ghost Tigers Talia from last split. I know he was a one trick at one point.
Yeah, yeah. Bring that guy back.
Dude, he was talented too. But yeah, I'm watching his dive now.
Yeah, it was pretty scuffed. What would you have done differently there, guys? How would you have taken that dive?
Uh, I'll reserve the Havoc. He's the top laner. I don't get dove mid that often.
Well, yeah, Havoc, sure. Well, how would you if you're the enemy team diving the Kale? How would you perform that dive better?
I mean, I think that yeah, I think that unless you have your jungle there before Kale is level 3, I just don't really like the dive angle. I think that Senna took a lot of damage for free early, and Ash started to as well. Um, so I don't know. I think whenever they come in for this play, they just yeah, they I don't know. I think with this particular play, they had to make Cinna tank one hit and then reset. But yeah, I dives are hard and juggling the turret aggro is hard, but the easiest way to execute dives, in my opinion, and make sure that they work is by getting there with an advantage, and I don't think that they went in with an advantage. Like the Kale shouldn't have been able to get to level 4 before the dive was made, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. She definitely could have been zoned a lot better. And I know Arthur talked about it a little bit when I interviewed him, like um, that they had the right idea, punish the Kale, but that they didn't really perform the dive properly. And it was really unfortunate that like Aqua wasn't able to take the turret aggro from the Maokai there at the end when he W'd.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's interesting that like yeah, you had two on that side of the map and you never zoned off Arctic from experience. You just like turbo pushed the wave in. And granted,
Yeah,
he's not going to
exactly.
CS all of it. He's just going to get see it. He's going to get experience. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's all he wants, right? If you're a
Yeah.
top laner there, really you just want the XP. You don't care about the
Mhm.
farm. The farm comes later. But yeah, I mean that's a really high level type of thing you're trying to execute, and I'm not surprised it didn't kind of go the way they expected it to go.
Yeah.
Um, but it's a learning experience for sure.
Right idea.
Let's go ahead and get into the next series though. It's just Cal Poly 2 versus Tomkenge Ventures. And CLT, I'll let you lead this one off. CLT.
Yeah. This was
Uh,
sorry.
there
I
you
was
go.
pulling it up. Um. Yeah. This was like a fun, entertaining series. We seen some champions and roles we don't associate with, but if you know Victor Apple, you know he cooks. So this Ivern, I honestly was sold that it was gonna go jungle, but then they quickly picked Zen Zhao in the draft, so Ivern went bot. And honestly, like I thought it was pretty good into the Blitzcrank. You obscure his vision a little bit with the brushes, but also Ivern can just sit back at a range that Blitz can't threaten from. And then it's Ivern Caitlyn as well. So the Blitz felt like it got neutralized quite heavily. And then looking at it past the draft, Tang on Hui had a really solid game here. Poked out Oriana quite heavily and got ahead. I will say though, on the Cal Poly side, Gyarados on this Wukong had a fantastic game. He was trying everything he could to keep his team into the game. But all in all, TK Ventures got ahead and never really looked back.
Yeah, it seemed like TK Ventures after their loss in week 3, they kind of started taking it a little more serious and came in and really tried to show these kids what's up, you know. Um, I'm memeing a little bit, but yeah, it definitely seemed like a solidifier a bit because they played a much cleaner game here in the overall series against Cal Poly, who has taken a game off of a series off of Instinct CK, and that's what makes it so interesting because we know that Instinct CK had beat Ventures. So I was kind of curious how this was going to go, and I wasn't not expecting the outcome that we got. What do you what is your take though on Ivory guys? What do we feel about this champion in this situation as a support pick into Blitzcrank too?
I thought on paper it was really good. Like I said, I think he has a deceiving amount of range, and Blitzcrank just couldn't punish that. And if you know how to play with the brushes, you can obscure vision for hook champs quite a bit. So I thought it was smart, and Victor obviously knew what he was doing on it.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying before, I like when people are innovative with their picks, makes it more fun. I don't like when the meta is very stale and easy to predict. Um, so I like that they tried it and it ended up working out pretty well. So
Yeah, in my head I thought the Blitzcrank could punish the Ivan more, but it didn't really happen. There was like maybe once or twice where he got hooked, and I think both times he had flash, he just flashed away afterwards.
hmm
Um, Yo, what's up with the Malphite too? My top laner, he drops in the chat. Yo, Malphite is like 1-4 or 1-5 or something during the split. And he's like, I'm the only win on Malphites. And it was so funny because like we always joke about him. He played Malphite, good champion. So
I
maybe
don't think Malphite's terrible.
I don't think so either. Just what's going on, man?
I don't know. I think he's good enough that Havoc may post it out.
Yeah,
I
honestly.
think I think that he's a fine pick. Honestly, I think that if you're going to play a tank, there are just better options. I think that's really all it is.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's weird, but like these easy, basic to play champions, like they're very simple. Like the Garen, like a Garen too, right? Um, Simple to execute. You just walk at people. That's what Malphite does, right? But I feel like because it's so simple, it's also so easy for the opponents to just be like, okay, well, this is what it does, right? And I could just play around that very simply. And I feel like
Mhm.
that's part of what's maybe happening to Malphite. But you also pinch yourself into a Malphite, Wukong, Ori comp. So like you kind of said like, here's what we're doing, and just play around that, and you can beat us.
Mhm.
Uh, and I think that TK Ventures did just that. They never really let the team group up. Every time they made a play and were able to get something on one side of the map, they're picking off the Ori. Like you can kill Micah Santa all you want. We're gonna take your base because you have no wave clear now. So it just felt like Cal Poly wasn't as in form as well. Like I'm seeing a trend here. Week 4 seemed a little weird for a lot of teams. Like I'm not seeing the typical play that I've seen from them, even during losses. Just a little disjointed, and maybe that's the holidays. Maybe everyone's just too happy. They got their favorite video game from mom, and they got their new dog, and now they're playing with their puppy or something like, celebrating too hard on New Year's, maybe a little too drunk, and
They went they went too hard on the Marvel Rivals. That's
yeah,
what it was.
Marvel right, yeah, like I don't know, everybody was a little off. Not everybody, but some of the teams for sure. And I felt like Cal Poly was one of them. Um, and a little bit of that for me was a bit of their drafting because I think here in this game, it's too telegraphed. That's how I feel about the comp.
Mhm.
Mm, I think they have to drafted it in the correct order. Like you didn't show the Oriana Malphite till R4, R5, but TK Ventures into Xin Zhao, it's really hard to like wombo a Xin because once if he gets the R off, your backline can't do any damage.
Yeah,
So
I'm not saying specifically they're drafting during the draft was telegraphed. By the way, I'm
oh,
just saying to clarify, like what the comp does is telegraphed. That's all.
yeah,
I just want to
that's fair.
clarify that because you brought up draft and I'm more referring to in game.
Yeah.
But
And
yep.
they did get a pretty good wombo in a fight on like the 22nd minute mark. So, but Chingy had like a really amazing series. We'll get into that in game two because I know uh one of your champs got played and you absolutely loved it.
Yeah, no, I think Chengi's been having a really nice split. I've been very impressed with his play. We saw him last split on support, and here on the Jinzhao, I thought he had a very excellent game. I think Jinzhao has been a good champion, but at times a little bit overvalued. But he showed the value here heavily, and why the champion is very good. I mean, his 1v3 at that fight you're talking about during that wombo is absolutely insane. Part of that is we're funneling into him, but at the same point, like he was down to like 20, no, probably less than that, probably like 10% HP maybe. Like he was near death, and a little healing from the Sunder Sky, and the dude just by the end of it he healed more than he actually took damage wise.
Hmm. Yeah, what's that rune that gives you health off a takedown? That put in a lot of work that fight too.
But
Triumph.
Triumph,
Triumph,
yeah.
yeah. I couldn't think of the name of it. Yep.
But
So,
we can jump into game two here, and yeah, we can start it off like you said. We can start off with Lee Sin. I I'm always a big proponent of. I think Lee Sin is a very weird competitive pick because as good as he is as a champion, I do think a lot of times he's not the best champion to pick in like 95% of situations. It's just and this is true for pro play too, by the way. It's just that there are a lot of junglers that play this damn champion and they play it well, so it's a comfort pick for them, so they just pick it. And it's good early game, so it provides stuff for you. It's flashy, it's fun. I mean, there's so many reasons to play the champion. But when you play it well, this is what it looks like. And he played it to perfection. And I've always said for a long time, Lee Sin, in recent memory, you have to play the champion darn near perfect to win games. And Chengi did that. He played perfect, and they won. So, um, yeah, it was crazy. It was a very nasty performance, and I think it's really decent into Wukong as well. So I think he picked it here in a good spot as far as that. And then there's no mobility besides the Wu on the rest of the team. So the Lee Sin's gonna have a lot of fun when it comes to that as well. He doesn't have to deal with the high mobility creep.
mm. Yeah, this was a treat to watch.
Yeah, and then I mean, I kind of feel like Cal Poly kind of still went for that very similar telegraph comp. They kept the Wukong Ori, looking for the Wombo. Um, and then you kind of have the Jinx for late game insurance. And Cho'Gath, which, we talked about your Cho'Gath you dealt with earlier, but for the most part, Cho'Gath really hasn't done much in the league. So I don't really know about this champion. Maybe the only way to make it work is just to have that really weird cook build.
I like my thoughts because like I do when I do play top, I do play a little bit of Shogath. I just feel like Scion does everything he does better. You stack health quicker, you get tankier, you synergize with the tank items a little bit more. Like I get Cho'Gath can draw a bigger line in the sand as far as like protecting a scaling comp, but he's also in that regard like a scaler as well. So it's a little weird sometimes what you can build around him.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, this game is just this is just what I would call championship caliber play, man. That's what this is. Uh, you've got Victor Apple playing some really good Bard play. Tang and Strawberry Tea just having nice performances. Nothing flashy. They're just, hey, my Lee Sin's popping off, and I'm here for the ride, but I'm gonna play at a very efficient high level. and all the good stuff that Cal Poly kind of did in game one, it kind of went out the window here in game two, as this was just not a very close game two at all.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that's also been a trend for the week. Like a lot of these, not obviously there's been multiple 3 game series, but like the ones that have been 2-0s, they have not been very competitive as weeks past. Um, that's why I brought up the whole thing of is what are people drunk, right? You know, as a joke, it's because it's just like it was not. It was just like watching a practice game for the winning teams. They were just like, we're just practicing and we're just trying some things out, and these guys are like, uh, they're coming from I don't know, some practice league somewhere because they're just trying to feel out if they want to join the league or something. I don't know where I'm trying to go with this, but you guys kind of get it. Like, that's what it kind of felt like in a lot of these series in these 2-0s, which was just felt so strange to me because, again, I think highly of these teams.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Was there anything that you kind of took away from this series, though, CLT? Besides, of course, the
Uh,
good performances.
I mean, you kind of said a majority of it. Like just TK benchers. The two TK teams made statements this week, and they look strong. It feels like some of these teams are catching their stride. I know the two TK teams, mixed up their lineups a little bit because they're a big group of friends. Uh, and I think Brandino kind of said it the best in our last episode of Midwest Weekly, where like as these teams play together more and more and get a little more synergized, they're going to start looking stronger and stronger. And I think this week you kind of started to see that a little bit more. So this week 5 is going to be very entertaining.
Yeah, I agree. Going to be a fun week 5 leading into playoffs. Speaking of fun series, though, I think one that was not anyone's bingo card to be any bit as fun as it was the last series of the week, and that's going to be Havoc series. Finally, he has ran the gauntlet. What does Sean say on first we feast? All right, this camera, that camera, this camera. Tell us what. I'm just kidding. But yeah, so I'll let you do it. I know I played in this series, but I'll let you kind of discuss things and lead us off here with game one.
Yeah. I think our game one, I think our bot lane was doing really well. I think we were doing pretty well for the most part. I think I didn't play very well game one. It is a matchup that I'm comfortable with, but I was trying out a new build that I have played a little bit in solo queue. Um, and I think it makes the matchup go a little bit differently. Solon's, I think, played really well. I think his Fiora is really good. But I also didn't respect the pressure top side very much by the enemy team either, which put me a little bit further behind than I should have been. Um, it was a very back and forth game, very, very close game. But I think that we threw a little bit too hard. Um, we were very far ahead in gold at a couple of points, and I think we just played a little bit over zealously and got punished for it. So definitely could have been. I mean, like obviously, Dyslexic Defenders won that game one. I think it definitely could have been our win if we had played it a little bit slower, a little bit more intelligently, and kind of played to our strengths a little bit better. But it was very good game. Like I said, super close. 36 to 37 kills in a 37-minute game. Super bloody. But a lot going on in that game one. Um, overall, uh the series was pretty close, I think. Game two was a little bit more one-sided for Team Ghost. And then game three was again pretty back and forth. I think it was really difficult for Team Ghost to play into Dyslexic Defender's team composition as well. So yeah, I mean, like I said, a super close series overall. I think that it shouldn't have gone to game 3. We should have played a little bit better game 1, but I think that Dyslexic Defenders played well, and that's why we got to that point.
Yeah. I could talk a little bit about it too. I mean, like I said, I subbed in here. This was I had no expectations coming in. I was just trying to basically help out both teams by one, allowing you guys to play, and two, helping out Smalls and hoping that maybe we can, you know, get them a chance at playoffs here with a win in the series, but also just making sure they don't have to forfeit, right? Um,
Mhm.
I can tell you I've never played with anybody on this team except for Shreeze, and Shreeze was my old top laner, so we're not really a bot lane duo. So there was definitely a lot of miscommunications and misplays early on in that game, whereas I feel by the end of the series we were playing a lot better. So I'm overall just really impressed with having even been able to push you guys as far as we did, and I feel like just a testament of the Farash, Soup, and Solence's will to just not give up, right? I mean, that's that they're a core of this team, um, and so it was really, really, really insane. I know that we were down like 11 or 12K at one point. I found out,
Yes.
and CLT. Maybe you could tell me, or at least you could come up with an idea. Is that possibly the biggest comeback of like the split, or maybe even the year? Because I don't remember seeing a lot of those big comebacks.
It's definitely the biggest comeback of the split. I can say that pretty comfortably. Of the year, it's up there. Like it was not looking good for dyslexic defenders, but yeah, Nico got a lot of really good ults, and man, this Fiora, you might want to ban this game too. And I know you did game 3, but
Well,
this
no,
Fiora
the
was
the meme the
dead.
meme was he says ban it, and then he picks set into it. Havoc picks set into it, and he has himself a really really good game in game 2. But before we really jump into game 2, I was gonna say like yeah, like the early game, obviously we all know how bad that went. You guys had us like down to our open base, and I remember there was like it was around 30 minutes. There's this little fight, and I want to bring this up because, and I'm pausing it here to kind of let everyone know. So there's a ward, and someone's like, I want a TP flank. Like, okay, and we want a TP flank Jinx. We don't know where everyone's at, but we see this Jinx, and I'm like, fuck it. I mean, I got nothing to lose, and so I said, all right. I throw down my alt, and I'm positive that they're not like Geico's not expecting the play there. But I throw down the all, and as I'm throwing down the all, I'm instantly flashing, so that way his cleanse doesn't matter because I could just follow him with my E, and then land Q obviously afterwards, and then that just sets up Solence's TP flank to just get the kill on the Jinx, and we end up winning that little like pocket fight there, which really wasn't a full team fight, but it was a like a 5v3, and after that, like the game just started to become different. Like it felt like the game was impossible. Like we can't win this game. To all of a sudden, like yo, wait, we can play. And Shreeze was on 3 items at this point, working on 4. So the Sivir was finally starting to become a champion. And as you pointed out, like Farash had a really nice Nico ult, which I think is honestly clip worthy at like a Drake play. It was really really clean. Um, and then the ending fight was absolutely awesome. Again, Solins just made a play. He said I'm going in, and I'm like, all right. He goes in, forces Gecko to flash. I throw down my solar flare where I think he's gonna flash to make sure that we can finish him off. And yeah, it was nuts. But you guys played really really well in that first game, and it was very freaking tough to do anything. So fun was fun, I will say.
Mhm.
This was enjoyable to watch, like this whole series, by the way.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad I was a part of a fun series that I subbed in for because you never know when you're subbing in because you don't know. Again, you don't know. Like you never play with some of these players. Like it could go really bad really fast, and that's how it felt like at first. Like, it was like shit. Like I guess we're just doomed. So speaking of doomed, game two was kind of doomed. For sure. Like that game started off kind of okay, and then I don't know. I made a grief play, and then it kind of snowballed into some more grief stuff. So, yeah, you kind of broke it down a bit of how it wasn't as close as the other two. Um, I think our draft in this game was like not particularly bad, um, but I just felt like for what we needed to do as us five specifically, I think we probably needed soup on something Tinky and Gage again with me. It seems like that's where we were thriving in game one and how we were synergizing. Uh, so we didn't have the comp. How was it from your guys' perspective? Obviously, I know you had a nice set game and were able to pop off here in his Fiora. I saw you outplay a couple times, and yeah, how was that situation like for your guys' draft and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it felt pretty good overall. There weren't really any points where I felt like we were losing control of the game. I think every lane was doing pretty well for themselves, and we were able to create big enough leads in most of our lanes that um, whenever we did start grouping up, it was pretty easy to keep control of the fights. Um, so, I mean, not too much I really want to say on this one, I guess. Just felt like we played better individually, and we, didn't really play for fun or take anything for granted or anything like that. We just tried to play smart and uh, for the win.
Yeah,
I thought this.
I'm looking back honestly, and I think something to note, like, so you were already ahead topside, but we overchased around like the 6 minute mark. I really think we don't overchase. The game is not as bad as it was because you end up getting even more there. Some gold went over to uh, someone else as well in that fight. Um, and so it was just bad, and that caused so many issues right there. So um, I feel like there's a breaking point. That's the breaking point early on in that game, at about 6 minutes. And then we couldn't find our footing. So, but
Yep.
yeah, and you were really a monster on that set, by the way. Very
Thank
clean. Um, I also, and before we kind of jump into game three, I wanted to kind of like, I don't do this as often like I kind of used to. I used to put this out more just because we have so much to talk about. But I want to highlight, like, I know you had a great game in game two, but I really want to highlight specifically both Mage and Geico for the series overall. I honestly think they might have played the best overall for the three games. And I actually think Mage had one of his best series of the split. I was very impressed
Mhm.
with his gameplay. Um, I don't know what your take on that is. He's obviously your teammate, but it looked like the Mage you want to see. You know, if you're um, a fan of him, or if you're just Mage yourself. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mage is a good player. I love playing with him. I think that he played well this series for sure. Um, you know, he plays really well for the team, kind of doing what we need. Uh, he was able to finally get a Fizz game in and performed really well on it. Um, always love to see that. But I mean, yeah, overall, I think he definitely did well. Um, I think Geico is also a very consistent performer. Um, he kind of talked about it as well as I did after the series was over. He played a little bit for fun game one. Um, he was incredibly strong on that Jinx, and definitely could have taken over the game at really any point. But I think that, like I said, some mispositioning, some not really playing as intelligently, like I said, as we could have. But game 3, I think, was really nice. Having that Victor flex whenever we were on that blue side. Um, Geico did super well on the Victor as well. I remember specifically, I think it was during a Baron push or something like that. He was like 1v2ing in the bot lane against um Ornn and Ziggs, I think. Um, after everybody else had kind of left. So yeah, I think two very very good players, very good series overall from both of them.
Yeah, and Game 3 was definitely the closest of the all the
Yeah.
games. I mean, I know the outcome of Game 1 is close, but when you consider how like far apart it was for a lot of that early game, this was really crazy. And I think both teams' drafts are good for what they want to do. Like I honestly think this was one of the best drafts I've been a part of, not named my team, in a long time. It was really good. I loved it. I loved it. It didn't
Yeah.
work out in the end, but it had lots to do with just because your comp it did exactly what it wanted to do against our comp. So it kind of went both ways. If we got you guys where we wanted you at a certain point, and as the game progressed, you guys were feeling that, right? It went our way. If you got us where you wanted us, it was like, ah, shit, it went your way. And so I thought it was really good, like back and forth. The macro play by both teams was really strong. Personally, I think. And again, that was impressive to me. And for me, on my end of like, hey, again, you're never playing with these guys, but we're working so well. Like they wanted the win, and I wanted it for them. I really did. And obviously, you guys really wanted the win, right? Because this could impact your season. A loss here, and all of a sudden, you guys aren't in playoffs yet. The trajectory changes for you guys a lot, right? So this was a
Mhm.
big game for both teams. Um, but yeah, the split pushing was obviously a bit of a problem. You guys got 6 scrubs, but we just played that kind of CG poke comp really well, and um, a couple just fights around chokes that we had were just kind of game changing for us. Just unfortunately, there was always someone there to kind of ruin the day, split pushing somewhere.
Yeah.
How were the comms during that end push, by the way?
Um, basically we were or I was telling my team that I can push really far in here. Geico said that he wanted me to keep pushing. Well, I think he was top lane at that point, because he wanted to look for a TP play. Um, so I mean, the rest of our team did a really good job of kind of keeping dyslexic defenders uh busy, I guess, in the mid lane, holding it down pretty well. Um, I think Ferosh just couldn't really burn through the super minions and myself at the same time. Um, and kind of has to do both, otherwise I can keep the push going. And then yeah, once we got fully into the base, Geico was able to just TP in, and at that point, I think there's not really much more that the dyslexic defenders can do.
Yeah. Glad you guys could pull that off this patch instead of like trying to do it tomorrow
Yeah,
for the next
yeah, we might have
the
had
next Earth
more of a chance.
respawn.
Yeah, the fight. So, the first fight I was thinking about was the one at 39, basically 40 minutes. Um, it was in a choke point, and I say, yo, we fight here. It's a choke. It's perfect, and we just layer everything so perfectly. Orin alt, into Braum alt, and then Wukong obviously coming in at the end, um, and we just kind of clean the fight. Obviously Mage goes off and goes and TP's top side. Sucks because we saw him moving on the thing, but I don't think anyone caught him like the scuttle. But I did tell like I was screaming like, "Yo, we need to back before this." Like I already knew what was coming because Mage was still alive, but we didn't get back in time to stop the Nexus turrets from falling. And I think if we can save at least one Nexus turret there, we have a chance to maybe actually win the game. Because in the next fight that we had, which was the ending one you were talking about, right? Just now, maybe there's potential that the push is slowed and we can survive a little longer for someone else to reset or whatever. But it was a similar situation, right? We had I want to find it here for the viewers. I know it was in the mid lane. Yeah, it was at 45 minutes and 50 seconds. A nice flank in here from the Wukong, and we just layered everything in there, and we were able to get people really low. But the problem was getting low didn't matter because you guys were just able to get in there and stop it. And unfortunately, I was not able to stop the TP, or stop it from the TP being canceled. I tried, but your Sejuani made a nice little flash play there and canceled
Mm-hmm.
it. So yeah, it was a really fun way to end, and I'm sure your comms are a little more than just than just hey, I can push in here far. I'm sure y'all were freaking out. I got to imagine. Yo, and
I
then
would
then 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 cancel the back, cancel the back.
I just would have loved to have been a fly on the wall of hearing specifically Geico during some of these jungle team fights where he's literally getting just Wukong ulted and then just blown up from 2 screens away by Xerath Zigzars. Like there was 2 fights I just watched in a row where he's trying to do Victor things and just the sky is falling on him.
Yeah,
Is the best way I can explain it.
dude. That's why I love the comp.
Yep.
Orange, Zero, Ziggs together, perfect.
I,
Just
I mean,
perfect.
I I said in one series that I thought there was one team that like drafted really well against Victor. This is like the other way you attack Victor.
Yeah, it's range. Yeah, absolutely.
It's poke, like specifically poke, because even ranged like Lux and all of those, like Zoe, like they do well in the lane against him, but they just don't have the backline access. Like this was the first time I actually seen a poke comp like pop off and do exactly what they wanted to do. And Farash on the Xerath, you either play Xerath or you don't, and this dude plays Xerath. Like
Yeah,
it
for
was,
sure.
it's impressive.
Yeah, and I literally go like people brought up a couple champions for me to pick, and I go no 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 Braum. I'm like Braum blocks Seraphine R, which is huge, and then I'm literally just the disengage tool that we need. The Orin is the engage tool. I'm the disengage tool, and obviously Wukong is just there for either, right? He's just here to help with either of them and be the AD threat that we need. I just felt I was like this comp is so good, and that's why it made me so sad that we actually lost because I thought I was like this is good, this is really
Hmm.
good. But yeah, 410 CS by the way is insane too, from Farash.
Yeah.
Holy moly! I mean
Yeah,
everybody had high CS numbers, but I did not realize anybody broke 400. That's crazy.
yeah. This was impressive performance. I mean, for you guys coming in as subs, like this was insane to watch.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
congratulations again to you guys. It was fun. It was fun, Havoc, and
Yep.
hopefully next time I play you, it's actually with my team, so
Yeah.
we can have a bit of a different outcome maybe.
playoffs
Um,
coming up.
yeah,
For no.
playoffs coming up. So with that said, I guess we can pretty much finish up here. It's been a pretty long episode, and obviously I appreciate you coming on, Havoc. I'll just ask you this: is there anything you're looking forward to here in Week 5?
I mean, I'm just looking forward to playing against Instinct CK. I think they look pretty strong, and want to see how we stack up. Um, if we can beat them, then we secure our number 2 spot, I believe. So I'll be just looking forward to playing that series out and seeing how it goes.
Yeah, you guys can guarantee the number 2. Yeah, with the win. I'm looking at it. If TK Ventures loses, I guess you could get the 1 seed. Can they lose? I guess anybody can lose, but like, what is their matchup? They play T1 Tempest. T1 Tempest has had a rough split, so I don't know. It might be just adventures either way, but maybe T1 Tempest can shock the world and knock them off for you, so you guys can pull off the 1 seed.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
I mean, if not, I mean, 4-1's a really good record for a 2 seed. You might get
the buy
that
still.
what
Yeah,
that fourth bye.
yeah. It's gonna be interesting. I will tell you this: 4-1 will probably tie you at worst with probably either coin flip or TK Yammers, right? Because in our group, us and Backdoor Bandits play, so the best 2 seed could be is 3-2. So
Hmm.
yeah, so
Yeah.
you guys have a high chance at getting that by. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of implications. I know Dyslexic Defenders and Cal Poly play this week, so they're going to be playing for that fourth seed in your group. Similarly, in our group, Low the Cannons and Peter Butter Jelly are playing for that fourth seed because Sad Jellyfish gets the win over Ice Wall, so they'll automatically move to 3 and 2, and then which will lock them in at 3 no matter what, I believe. So since they will. They beat Peter Margelli and Low the Cannons, so they're locked in regardless. And then Group A. Group A is probably the most interesting one right now because you have 3 teams that could potentially finish with the same record. And if they do, then it becomes a 3-way tie, which tiebreakers would have to be played. So that's Freeback, Scorch, and Insane Banana Posse. But Caster Curse can
Well,
put an end to that this week if they just beat Insane Banana Posse, and then there's no 3-way tie potential.
yeah. Well, Freebrax and Scorch definitely have the two biggest like toughest matchups being Coin Flip and TK.
Mm.
But yeah,
Hey,
because there's actually.
you guys are no slouch. Come on now.
Oh no, I'm looking forward to this week. Like I know those guys on Insane Banana. They're the nicest dudes in the world. But yeah, when that lobby and that music hits, sorry guys.
Yeah, we're coming. So yeah,
Yep.
so that's kind of what playoffs look like. So it's gonna be fun. Havoc has the All Star stuff out. If you don't know, please get out there and vote. Um, we are gonna do 15 players in total, so 3 from each role, with 2 being starters, and then obviously one will be a potential alternate if needed. You're still an all-star though, which is cool, which is an honor, right? And I believe we're doing the drafting, right? Havoc,
hmm
did you decide on who we want to be the captains?
Not yet. Guess that'll be something we can talk about
I vote I
this
vote
weekend.
Pugsley and Ars Pies.
I'm down with it.
If
If
they're
they want
down
to do
for it,
it,
then
yeah, I'm down with it. Casters go at it.
The 2 casters that aren't part of the league. Let
Yeah,
them let them have fun.
let them have fun. Then they can cast it too. I'll just sit back and watch. Um,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I'll heckle in chat. I haven't done that in a while.
Is there anything else coming up that we should note for the audience here, Havoc, before we officially sign off?
I don't believe so. Just mainly the All-Star stuff. That's all gonna take place after we finish up week 5. And after that, we'll be putting more stuff out for playoffs. So
Yeah. And I guess any tiebreakers will take place that week too,
yeah,
right? Yeah. So if you have any if it comes down to tiebreakers, whether it's for a 1 seed tiebreaker, which I don't think is possible right now, but if there is one possibly, let's say, or any other possible tiebreakers, second seeds, trying to get the buys or whatever, that'll take place next week. Are we doing one game or a series for those
it's
tiebreakers?
just a best of 1 for tiebreakers.
All right, all tiebreakers will be a best of 1. We'll drop that. If you don't watch, we'll obviously drop that in the chat too. But yeah, so that's pretty much everything then. And then MVP will come after All Stars too. So
Yep.
thank you guys all again for watching. Thank you again, Havoc, for coming on. This is great, finally getting you on. And obviously, thank you, CLT, for always being my co-host. And
Mhm.
that'll be it. So you guys have a wonderful night. GG's, and we will see you on the Rift next week.